Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Welcome to the Dead Air Horror and Genre Podcast.
Mr. Pop.
Hey everybody, it's Friday night, June 19th, 2015, and welcome to another episode of the Dead Air Horror and Genre Podcast. I'm Jeff Konopka, and tonight I'm joined by the one and only sexy beast himself, Mr. Jesse Bartell.
Tom Nook's an asshole.
Tom Nook is a fucking rapist and a thief and a fucking cunt.
He's such a smug little bastard about it, too.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, hey, where's your money? Don't you have money? Give me some money. And it's just such a fucking pain in the ass. I hate Tom Nook. And anybody who doesn't play Animal Crossing is probably like, what the fuck is wrong with these guys right now?
The drugs! The drugs!
So we may or may not have somebody else joining us a little bit later. I'm not sure what the status is with that. I think the plan is that somebody's going to be dropping in. But tonight, we're going to sit down and do our usual, which is basically talk about a bunch of shit, bullshit for a little while, talk about some movies we've been watching, and then we're going to review the latest big, giant, fucking highest grossing weekend of all time behemoth, Jurassic World, which I'm going to assume at this point that most of the people listening to this have seen the movie, judging by the amount of obscene money that it made and the fact that fucking Universal is basically just rolling around in dollar bills and rubbing them all over themselves.
Stuffing it inside their assholes.
Pretty much. And Chris Pratt is just like, yo, I am fucking box office gold.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how we're going to deal with the spoilers on that. I don't know if we want to have a separate spoilers section or if we just want to open up the conversation for the most part when we start talking about the movie. And I guess we can kind of figure that out when we get there, right?
Yeah, we'll play it by ear.
So we're going to talk about that tonight. And if you're just listening for the first time, you can find us here most Fridays. If you just go to deadairpodcast.net/live, it's usually up there, and you can listen to us record and shoot the shit and all that. And we do have the Q&A open tonight, so if you do have any kinds of questions or anything like that, concerns, feedback, you just want to tell us that we're a bunch of fucking assholes, that's fine too. I don't think we would disagree with you necessarily.
No, you're just like my dad.
Pretty much, it'd just be like going to a family reunion.
Yep.
So you can find those there, and if you want to listen to any of our back episodes, you can just go to deadairpodcast.net. And if you're an iTunes listener, we are on iTunes, and you can subscribe there, and I would highly recommend that. It'd be awesome if you would subscribe to the show, and if you do subscribe to the show, leave us a rating and or review. That'd be awesome. And you can find that at deadairpodcast.net/iTunes. And we're on Facebook, so if you want to keep up with shit, follow us on Facebook, deadairpodcast.net/ guesses? Anybody?
Chakma.
Fuckbook.
All right. Christian Mingle.
So we're up there as well, so you can find us, like us, and keep up on all of the random bullshit that goes on there. And I'm almost thinking of disconnecting my Twitter account from my personal Facebook and just kind of like only posting on the Facebook page for the show because my Facebook feed is nothing but just dumb shit recently, and it is so obnoxious. And especially now, because of all the bullshit that's been going on and all the stupidity that happens in this country with white people.
It's
like,
usually white people.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm just tired of it.
Right.
Like, I'm just tired of hearing about it. And like, I realize it's a problem, but then like somehow people always make it onto my feed that have to be like, well, you know, if you'd stop acting like a bunch of assholes, maybe the cops wouldn't kill you. And it's like, what the fuck? Really? Like, people that you know, but you don't really know. And then you're just like, all right, blocked.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's just not worth it.
I totally know what you mean. I mean, you see all those things all the time. Like, well, if you don't want cops to treat you poorly, just behave. And it's like, that's not like the cases that we're talking about are not usually that's applicable.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Like obviously, if you get pulled over and you're just like, yo, fuck you, pig. Like, obviously, that's not the way to behave. But if there's cause for at least some sort of try to have some sort of discussion about this, it's just ridiculous that what people have to say.
Well, especially after what just happened, where it's like they fucking arrest that white kid,
right?
And all they give him a bulletproof vest, and they don't even like bother to handcuff him, right? Isn't that what it was?
Yeah.
And he killed 9 people, yet they fucking choke a guy to death because he was selling cigarettes on the street.
Where they sit on a 14-year-old girl.
And it's not, I'm not saying that all cops are bad, because they're not. And, you know, we do need police. They're not terrible. This is like the minority, I would say, probably of law enforcement people. I know people that are in law enforcement, but it's still a problem. And I get that part of that problem is because of the shit that they have to see every day. And they probably are just fed up with a lot of it. But that's not an excuse.
No, like, your job is to put those excuses aside.
Exactly. And if you don't want to deal with that, then you get out of it. You know, like I was in a training for work the other day, and the guy who was a trainer used to be a sheriff. And he basically said that he got out of it because he just didn't want to, like, he saw that he was going to be getting to a spot where he was just going to be so pissed off at the world.
Right.
And he's like, it's not good for anybody. And he's totally embarrassed about all the shit that's going on now. And I'm just like, I can't blame him, you know? So, I mean, this isn't political podcast or anything. But this week has just been shit. And it just doesn't help, you know, obviously respect to the families of the people who died in South Carolina, right? Is where it was?
Yeah, Charleston.
So, you know, R.I.P.
Yeah, R.I.P. Charleston Bible study.
Yeah, I mean, that's fucked up, you know? It's just like, Jesus.
And it's always white dudes. White dudes are so fucking crazy.
Well, because so like, and I don't mean this to single out or make any judgments based on race, but most of the time when you hear white people doing shit, they're always going in and killing a bunch of motherfuckers. Like, they just walk into some place where there's a bunch of innocent motherfuckers. When you hear about like other crimes with like non-white people, it's usually like one person, and it's because, even if it's not justified, it's usually just because they got in an argument with somebody. It's not like, yo, I just went and mowed down a whole bunch of fucking people for no reason.
Right.
Except for terrorists. But they, you know, their whole point is to get people that, and that's what this dude is, but they don't call him a terrorist. You know what I mean? Right.
No, they call him what, like soft-spoken weirdo.
Yeah, exactly. And that fucking asshole who did that shit in the movie theater a few years back. Like, come on. Jesus.
They all have bad haircuts too.
They do. What is it with that? Like, can you just start judging people by their haircuts? See if
you start profiling. We should start profiling white people, man.
Well, I mean, most serial killers fit the profile of like white middle-aged male.
Yeah. And now it seems like all the shooters fit the stereotype of like early 20s pasty white kid with bad haircut.
That's just because they're dumb and they spend too much time on the fucking internet.
Yeah.
And they think that, like, I just don't think that they have an understanding of how to interact with people to begin with.
They put too much of that Mortal Kombat's in those. Turok's.
Well, it's really easy to just like separate yourself at this point from. I mean, I couldn't even imagine being younger at this point and just being like, there would be no reason to like ever leave your house.
No, I mean, yeah.
And so therefore you have no social skills and you just get angry at the world because your only interactions are on the internet, and the internet is just such an awful place most of the time.
Vile place.
It really is. It's fucking. It's
And
horrible.
we make internets.
Yeah, we do make internet. We're on the internet right now.
We are.
And, you know, I mean, it's got its good sides and it's got its bad sides. And the good side is that we can sit around and talk about movies and let people listen to us. And there's podcasts that I listen to that I really like, and I like to hear the people talking. But that, you know, it's all about where you choose to go, and you know,
Who you associate with or what you associate.
and it, yeah, exactly. And I just feel like there's a lot of people that don't have anything to do because all they do is spend all their time on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And so they hang out in these places that are just full of negative shit. And you know, it's a cycle, man. Negativity breeds negativity. I mean, look at all the people who were talking shit about this fucking movie that we're going to talk about tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Either before it came out and they even saw it, or afterwards. And we'll get into that because I mean, there's a lot of discussion to be had, almost as much discussion to be had about the discussions that are being had about the movie than the movie. Because I think when we get into it, I mean, the movie is the movie. But what's more interesting about it is, I think, the way that people are reacting to it.
The tidal wave of commentary.
Exactly. And some of it is just ridiculous. I mean, you know, and that's to be a given, but it's some of the stuff that people are coming out and saying about it, it's just like, did we watch the same movie?
Right.
Because
Or are you just wanting traffic to your site because this is a trending topic right now?
and that's the new thing is, hey, I run a genre site or I run something like that, and there's not a whole lot of genre stuff going on right now because it's summer blockbuster month. So all I'm going to do is complain about, you know, whatever the newest big movie is.
Right.
Unless it's Mad Max, and in that case,
And that's okay. It's okay. Everything's all fine.
Which is funny because I swear to God, I remember before that movie actually happened that everybody was so angry that Mel Gibson wasn't going to be in it, and they were like, fuck this movie.
Oh no! And then like Tom Hardy was cast, so like, oh okay.
Yeah, and then it comes out and everyone's shitting their drawers over it. And you know, it's a valid thing to shit your drawers over.
I'm sure.
Because it's a fucking great movie, but you know, and you know, we'll have that discussion, but I feel part of the problem with that movie is that it kind of set the bar for the rest of the movies.
Yeah.
This summer,
Yeah,
way too
definitely
high. And now everybody is saying, well, why aren't they doing this the way that Mad Max did it? And it's like, well, that's not a valid comparison.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's comparing apples to oranges in
Right.
a lot of ways. And you can't expect that. You know, that was a movie that was sitting there for 15 years where one guy was like obsessively working on it. Not a movie that a studio was trying to get made for 15 years that got shuffled around and got changed and rewritten.
Right. Different
7
directors
times.
and
Exactly.
well, Abrams was gonna do World for a while, I believe, right?
And Brad Bird was going to do it.
Brad Bird, yeah, Brad Bird, Birdman.
And then he made the poor decision to go and make Tomorrowland.
Yeah.
That movie sucks.
He's still got all that. He got that Disney paycheck though. I think he was happy.
Yeah, but I don't know how Disney's going to... I don't know how that's going to... I think he's going back to doing animated stuff now. I think he's doing Incredibles 2.
That's fine.
And I think that's probably... I think he can do live action, but man, like some of these like Pixar guys doing live action stuff is just not working out for them when they do it.
Well, Ghost
with,
Protocol was rad, and he just...
But that wasn't a Disney movie.
No, I know what you mean. I'm just saying he could do live action really well.
Yeah, but I think he needs to not be with Disney to do it.
Sure.
Because
think it's
Disney's...
Is controlling as fuck.
Well, and they're just trying to make like a giant franchise, and you can't go about that from the beginning.
Mhm.
Like the way that you do that is you make a movie and it's good and makes a bunch of money, and then you're like, okay, let's do a franchise. You know,
Right.
maybe leave it open for that, but don't like Disney gets ahead of themselves to the point where I can guarantee you that they already have sequels that were ready to basically be greenlit as soon as the weekend was over for Tomorrowland, and then it just didn't make money, so they probably were just like, fuck it. And then they're like, yo, we're not going to make Tron. And everybody who didn't go to see the last Tron complained that Disney can Tron.
Right.
And it's like, what? Like, why do you care? You didn't go to see the last fucking movie. Like, and that's
and people think that it's going to be the Tron from the first one, and it's never going to be that movie again. That movie's not even that good.
Let's face it, even if they gave us that, people would complain about it.
Sure.
Because it's not that good. Exactly. Because the only reason that people think it's good is because they have nostalgia for it.
And it looked weird and cool, and it was a nice concept, but yeah.
Exactly.
Tron Legacy looked pretty good, too. It was a good looking movie.
Sure it did. I'm sure it was well made, but it's just like, it's not mind-blowing. It's just a fucking movie, right? It's just like it's a movie that you go and you watch and maybe have some fun with, you know.
Yeah.
That's about it. So, whatever. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people complaining about a lot of stuff, and I don't know if I want to hear it anymore. And I'm just like, I like Twitter because people don't get to go on these long, horrible rants.
Yeah, these block paragraphs after block paragraphs.
Well, and then for people that you don't know, you don't have to see their responses.
Right.
That's the really nice thing about Twitter. Because you could post something and I see that and I can reply to you, and in order to reply to you, I don't have to see all of the other shit that might have gotten tweeted at you.
Yeah, you don't have to see my silly college friends saying silly things.
Like, I could read it if I wanted.
You could if you wanted to, yeah, but...
And I'm not saying that I wouldn't want to necessarily, but you go on Facebook sometimes and it's like, I just want to comment on something, and then there's just always some asshole.
Just like, you get depressed because you see like this huge barrage of like dumbassery.
Yeah, you either just get depressed or you just get annoyed, and it's like fine because I'm all about trolling people, but sometimes I just don't want to deal with it, and it's just like, fuck it. And I'm just like, most of the people that I talk to on Facebook or interact with on a regular basis, I talk to on Twitter anyway, or in, real lives.
The real lives.
Or at least via Skype, or fucking Google Hangouts or whatever. So it's like this kind of discussion is all right. But, there's definitely a lot. And that's, people are like, why don't you have a call-in number? And I'm like, because there are some people that I just don't want to talk to.
Yeah, that's a bad move.
I was thinking I might try it at some point just for one show, just for the fuck of it. Like maybe when we get closer to being like 5-year anniversary or something like that, and just being like, all right, if people want to call, I'm going to do it this one time, but I expect it to go horribly if anybody actually listens. Like, I don't even know if anyone's listening tonight. I don't think there's anybody listening tonight, and that's fine because that's what happens. It's a fucking Friday night. Weather's nice out. Everybody's angry.
Everybody's angry at movies.
Well, movies and and the news. Like, I don't even want to watch the fucking news anymore because it's just every time I watch it, it's some horrible shit.
Right.
It's like, can't we just fucking watch movies and get along?
Is it that hard?
Like, you don't even have to like people. Just ignore them.
Right.
Don't shoot them. Come on. So, summer 2015.
Started off with a bang.
Yeah, it's well, I think the first day of summer is officially Sunday, which is also Father's Day. So happy Father's Day to everyone out there who is a father with children that you actually take care of.
Not that I'm aware of.
Well, you don't have any kids, but
No.
that you know of.
Not that I know of.
I'm sure that you probably do. You just don't know about them.
I'm like, oh, dirty bastard.
If you're pulling that Easy-E shit, you're like BB King of podcasting.
I'm the BB King of podcasting. I got 80 kids.
Yeah, some people just don't know when to quit with the children.
I know.
Like, I don't know what their plans are, but this guy that I work with has been out of work. That's part of the reason I'm just like, fuck this week, because he's been out of work all week because he just, his wife just had their latest child. He's got 5 kids.
Damn.
And I'm just like, and they're in a single income like household, which amazes me to begin with, that anybody could get away with that. Because I got 1 kid and I'm broke as fuck. But this dude's got like 5 kids, and I'm just like, what? Like, are you just planning to like turn them all into slave laborers and have them go build you a cabin somewhere?
They have to work the farm, man. Only 3 of them are probably gonna make it.
Well, I understood back then why they did it, but now where like life expectancy is like way up,
We're all just pampered little fluff balls.
cost of living is up, and I mean, do you know how much? I don't know if you've seen the numbers of how much they say that it ends up costing to raise one child to the age of like 18, but it's like more money than I'll ever have,
Right.
you know? And I'm just like, I could even tell you how much that we spend every year just paying for daycare, food, toys, stuff like that. Like it's a fucking expensive thing. So, everyone out there who, if you're a father and you got kids and you actually take care of them, then I'm not religious, but God bless you. And have a good Father's Day. Even though by the time most people hear this, Father's Day is over. So hope you had a good Father's Day. My plans on Father's Day are just to sit around and do nothing and maybe go to the movies.
What are you gonna see? What comes out?
I don't know.
What's out this week? Inside
Out.
Yeah, that Pixar film and Dope. I don't know what else is out.
Something about polar bears.
Polar bears.
Infinitely Polar Bear.
Is it like one of those Disney nature movies?
No.
Oh.
It's somebody posted a screen cap and like everything that comes out this week. So I think that the plan is that Disney was like, yo, we're putting out Inside Out and we're going to make all the money. But I don't think anyone counted on what happened last weekend.
Right.
I can tell you right now, Disney ain't going to make all the money.
Right.
And we'll talk about it because I did see Inside Out last night. But I don't think that they're going to make all the fucking money. They might get some of that family money, but there's a lot of that family money that's still going to see fucking Jurassic World.
Oh, yeah, probably.
They had the fucking ropes up. When you go into the movie theater and they got like the ropes for the wraparound lines inside, they had those up and people lined up last night at 10 o'clock to go see Jurassic World still.
Jesus Christ.
Like people waiting in line, showing up like 45 minutes before the movie starts.
God damn.
Like, and I have not seen that. And that's why when I went last week, I was like, yo, this movie is like, when I went last Thursday, I was like, this fucking movie is going to do way better than everyone thinks it's going to. Because I went to a fucking 10 o'clock show and it was completely sold out.
It's going to make Transformer money.
More than Transformer money. I think they already are making more than that. I mean, they already grossed worldwide in one fucking weekend more money than the fucking third movie made in its entire run.
That's good.
Like, it's a lot of money. I mean, adjusted for inflation, the first Jurassic Park still made more money. But it's one of those things where it's nothing to sneeze at. You know what I mean? Like, this movie's going to hit $1 billion for sure. And there was a lot of people that were expecting the Avengers to be the highest grossing movie from this summer, and it's not happening. And like I said, we'll talk about it later. But my opinion was I was like, oh, I'll take dinosaurs over superheroes any day.
Yeah, every day.
And the superhero bubble has to fucking burst at some point. It's got to. There's no way that they can keep this up. They have movies planned for like the next 5 years.
There's just going to be like a real fatigue. I mean, it's just such an oversaturation of the market. Like, I feel it now when you're just like sitting there watching trailers for Ant-Man and Fantastic Four and this and that. You're just like, Jesus Christ, it needs to stop.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I don't really have much interest in most of these movies.
Right.
No, like that Ant-Man trailer in general also looks pretty terrible.
It looks really bad.
And it's not necessarily because I think it's a shit movie, because I don't know, but it doesn't look like, it just looks like cheap. Well, I'll admit that most of the other Marvel trailers have at least been pretty good.
It doesn't look, it looks hokey, and it looks like it just doesn't look good at all. Like, if you're talking about like him talking to ants and like riding them, like it's just stupid, it's just dumb.
Yep.
Just don't think it was a franchise or a character they needed to insert into the franchise. It was just like, oh, well, we probably can make this movie for no money in Marvel terms, and put it out and make, comfy money for other stuff.
Well, I think they kind of got swelled up from what happened with Guardians of the Galaxy because people were not expecting that to translate well.
Right.
And that movie did fucking gangbusters. And until fucking Bradley Cooper came and fucked it all up, it was, the highest grossing movie of the year. I think American Sniper ended up passing it, but
Bradley Cooper Coopered out his own movie.
Yeah, and that fucking movie isn't even that good. Like
American Sniper? No.
Yeah. That fucking baby?
That baby, though.
Come on, man. Like, they didn't even try.
I know.
And that's what's so terrible about it. And that movie got nominated for, like, Best Picture.
It was weird, the whole thing.
It's just like I get it because America and white people. And that's what it comes down to, right? It's because America and white people. That's why that movie made money.
Yeah, it's white people porn. That's what it's American white people porn. It's just like
I like Clint Eastwood. I like some of the stuff he does, but fuck, man.
And also no disrespect to like the Kyle family, but it's just like you can't. That movie was just not done in a way that was good. You know, that presentation of that film was not good.
Nope.
I really did not like it.
So that's that's fucking shit. So I don't know. Just I don't know. Ant-Man just doesn't look good. So fuck it.
Fuck movies.
I was gonna go see it at one point, and then I saw the trailer, and I was like, you know what? No, I'll just wait. And the next Marvel movie that I actually watch is gonna end up being Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Yeah.
And then there's all the people that have to come out on the goddamn internet when they were putting out the estimates, and they're like, it's really close between Avengers and Jurassic World, and they're just like, all the fucking Marvel fanboys come out and they're just so angry
in droves.
Well, they're just like so angry that their movie might lose by like a couple $1 million as being the number one grossing weekend of all time,
which is actually like ridiculous knowing how much those movies are making. Like, it's not like a battle for indies or something.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And they're just like, my stuff is better than yours. And I'm like, well, you're losing sight of things here because it's not really nerd culture anymore when you're talking billions of dollars.
Right.
That's not nerd shit anymore. Like, your thing was your thing for a while, but now it's everybody's thing. So shut the fuck up.
That's what, like something happened in the bookstore the other day. It was like that. These two girls were looking at the Game of Thrones books, and the one girl was like, I don't want to buy this. I don't want to buy the actual book. I want to get the digital book. I don't want to be on the beach and then people think that I'm like a total nerd. And I just turned to my coworker. I'm like, Game of Thrones is like the most widely acceptable piece of fantasy right now. Like, you would not be considered a nerd. And then she goes and she just buys it on, like, she's standing there in the store and just buys it on her phone, the digital version. And I just was like really mad at her. I was
like, you're gonna read that on your fucking phone? If you're gonna read any book on your phone, it should not be one of the Game of Thrones books.
Well, no, but plus, like, you come into not my store, but my store, right? And you use our shelves to find a book that you want, and then you buy it from another service. It's kind of fucked up.
That's like when Chad comes into my house and he shits in my toilet, destroys my toilet, and I'm just like, motherfucker, you came to my house and I gave you food, and the only way you repay me is by shitting and stinking up my whole top floor. You dirty bastard. And he's not here to defend himself right now, so I'm taking the cheap shots while I can get them.
And then I had to make a snide remark to her when she was leaving. I was like, by the way, you don't actually own your digital book. And she's like, I know. I just like, I just don't like. I don't care.
Jesse's the OG book gangster.
Yeah, it's just like, it just drives me nuts.
He's just like, by the way, your digital book is shit.
Yeah, they can take it away from you.
I can hit a motherfucker with it. Them Game of Thrones books, they're good for throwing at people's heads. Fucking give them a concussion. 8,000 pages long.
I'm such a nerd. I like Lord of the Rings. No, you're not.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, 20 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, 20 years ago. In the 90s, if you were reading Game of Thrones, you were a fucking nerd because that was like high fantasy reading. But now it's just like, come on.
Yep.
It's on the cover of fucking Vanity Fair or some shit. Like, you just relax.
Oh, it's on everything. I mean, like you fucking go on the internet and it's just like
just
apparently
there.
everybody watches this shit. Everybody just likes boobs and slaughter, and there's nothing wrong with that. I haven't watched it yet. I will eventually watch it and get caught up, but I'm just like kind of halfway worried that I'm just gonna be like, this is boring. Like
No
I
way.
started watching the first episode and I got about like 10 minutes into it and then I had to stop, and I was just like, you know what, I can wait. I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't need to tell you. I'm sure everybody tells you that it's good, but
Well, fucking everybody like looks at you cross-eyed if you say you don't watch it, and it's like, well, first off, I didn't have HBO until recently.
right, and that was always the barrier.
It was definitely part of it because it was like, well, I could get the Blu-rays, and I have like the first couple seasons. I have the first 2 seasons on Blu-ray because I got them pretty cheap. But it's like when they first come out, if you don't get them like when they first come out, they're like fucking $60.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm not gonna pay $60 to look at titties.
And then, you know what? HBO's Blu-rays are not that good. By the way,
Well, why do you say so?
I just the picture quality is just not that great from what I've seen.
I guess it depends.
Plus, didn't they screw over The Wire recently?
Well, that's a whole different story.
That's a whole different change of hands.
Well, that's a whole like they remastered this shit, quote unquote, in HD, and there's several reasons why it's ridiculous. One of the biggest ones being that when they first were initially working to put that show out, I forgot the guy's name, but the guy who created the show, he wanted to shoot it in 16:9 and shoot it in HD, and HBO was just like, nah, we don't want to spend the money on that. And so they made it 4:3. And so then at that point, HBO came back and was like, you know what? Like a couple years later, they're like, why don't you go ahead and shoot this in widescreen? Because now there's like all this HD TV and stuff. And they were basically just like, nah, we already started in 4:3 and it would be really weird to change the aspect ratio. So we kind of want to keep it this way. And so the fact that they went back after the fact and tried to change it to make it fit that aspect ratio, which means that they either stretched shit or zoomed in. And, I mean, it's just as bad as taking a widescreen movie and putting out a pan and scan version of it. It's the same problem. It's why I can't stand it when you go to like people's houses and they're watching the regular definition channels that aren't in 16:9 and they're stretching them to fit their screen. And it's like, why are you doing that? Watch it in the aspect ratio that it's supposed to be in. It looks like shit when you do that. It drives me nuts. And maybe it's just because
most people probably just don't care.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Most people don't fucking notice. It's like you go into Best Buy and you try to look at the TVs there, and they've got them running through these splitters, coaxial cable. It's like, why are your fucking HD TVs being displayed with demo material that's coming through a fucking coaxial cable?
The only TV that ever looks good is like the Soul TV they have in some random place, hooked up with a Blu-ray player, playing like fucking whatever
Transformers.
whatever they got going on, and that usually looks good. And that's about it. The TVs on the wall look like they're a nightmare. It's like you fell into some like Videodrome shit or something.
Yep. And the colors are all fucked up anyway because they just leave them at the factory defaults.
It's nightmares.
The only ones that ever look good are the ones where they're showing off the home theater system.
Right.
Where it's like the TV with the fucking couch and they're like, look, buy speakers because then movies sound loud.
Yeah, because you knew like that one of the guys there gave a fuck about like making it look good.
Oh, I'm sure somebody did. But I mean, if you're going to try to sell the home theater experience, you have to.
Right.
But the problem is you can't judge the TVs by what you see at the stores anymore. It used to be you'd go and look and you'd be like, oh, look at the picture quality. But you literally can't unless you are able to like fucking bring your own thing to hook up to the HDMI port and look at it.
I'll bring my PS4 in here. I'm going to bring my Wii.
Shit in.
Bring my Wii.
I'm going to plug my Roku stick in. Watch my internets on your Best Buy Wi-Fi.
Which is probably terrible.
Yeah, Best Buy is pretty terrible in general, but I've been going there recently because like I'll walk in there and I'm just like, ooh, look at all these cheap movies.
I know they sucker you in.
They do.
They're running a racket now with those cheap Blu-rays.
Those exclusives.
I know.
Spring was a fucking Best Buy exclusive. Who would have ever imagined that was going to happen?
It's a shame it got such bad box art.
Bad box art? That was one of the original posters.
Was it? It doesn't look
Mhm.
good to me.
It's all right. I mean, it was a
No.
poster. Did you see the resolution fucking artwork?
Yes.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Like spring is leaps and
Better.
bounds
Oh,
beyond
better. I just
because it wasn't Draft House didn't make them do that. That was definitely their choice for the
Sure.
artwork.
Sure.
So there's all their alternate artwork for the movie, but it's not bad. But for $10, man.
I know. It's not like it's not like some Sony abortion.
Yeah, and it's got good shit on the disc too, so it's totally worth it. But it's not just that. I mean, they usually have a lot of the stuff. They get all the Dark Sky film stuff, and it's like $9 when it shows up. And what else did they have? Like they get the Image stuff, so they had like Digging Up the Marrow and stuff like that. It's pretty cheap, and it's like, well, if I'm gonna buy it, fuck it. So I go in there for one of those, and then I just happen to see a bunch of other shit that's on sale that I don't need.
Three Amigos on Blu-ray.
Yeah, no. I did buy Roadhouse though a few weeks ago. So.
There you go. Swayze.
Yeah, pretty much. And I got the Lethal Weapon 4-pack.
Nice.
That's
Blu-ray or
like,
DVD?
Blu-ray, man. It was like $14 for all 4 movies, I think.
That's all right.
And I was like, all right, I can deal with this. Like the first two are like the first one's awesome, second one's pretty awesome,
Third one's not so great.
Third one's okay. Fourth one's actually better than I thought it would be. Fucking Jet Li shows up, and the only thing I remember from the fourth one is something about a dentist's office and laughing gas.
And Mel Gibson has a haircut.
Yes, he does. And that was right before he went like completely batshit.
Yeah, he went off his rocker.
Fucking lost his mind.
Good for him.
Yeah, that poor son of a bitch.
At least he's not like Scott Stapp territory where he's just
Jesus,
like, drunk in a hotel room.
Well, Mel Gibson has an excuse because he's Australian.
That's true. They have a whole huge history of xenophobia. It's not his fault.
And not just that, they have a whole huge history. The whole reason that place is a country is because that's where they like basically the British were trying to actually create Escape from New York.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, pretty much. They said,
like,
we got this crazy continent with all this deadly killer stuff on it. Let's colonize it, make a prison colony.
Yep. So
And then they just like got like the native people to be like indentured servants. And
pretty much
paid them in like cigarette packs.
And that's still a really fucked up thing over there too.
Yeah, the whole thing. They're like, no, they're not really slaves, but it's like you're just paying them in like cigarettes. Like it's not really
Fucking Aboriginals and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that shit's. There's a few people that I follow on Twitter that are Australian and see some of the stuff that they post, and there's still all sorts of weirdness over there with like the what was it, Aborigines, or I don't know how you say it, but
yeah, there's yeah.
But the natives, basically,
Right.
the people who really should be in charge.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what happens.
But they're trying
again, white people.
Yeah, but they're trying to make like a step. Like if it was a really cool thing, like that movie Tracks, which was about I forgot her name, but she walked across this. She walked from Alice Springs to like Perth, or she walked to that side of Australia. But at the beginning of the movie, they basically have a text saying that if you're like an Aboriginal person, you may not want to watch this movie because it may have people who have died in it that that are Aboriginal. So. Because they freak out about that stuff, so it was it's good, it's good stuff. But still, there's a lot of issues.
Shit's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Shit is crazy. I forgot that you went there.
Yeah, I lived there for a while.
And shit.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking eucalyptus addicted motherfuckers.
Cranky ass motherfuckers.
I don't know why everyone thinks they're so cute. They're just evil.
They are evil.
They should make a fucking horror movie about koalas. Why do we not have a horror movie about koalas?
They're constantly like nodding out, like a heroin addict.
Oh yeah, because they're all fucked up.
Yeah.
Dude, they are. If you look at their eyes are all fucking like
loopy. Yeah, man.
Like half closed and shit. They're just like, oh, fucking koala.
They're living the life, I guess.
And they've got fucking claws of doom.
They do.
They will fuck you up.
Everything there has claws and fangs and poison.
You're just gonna fucking die.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, man. I don't know how people do it. That's why everybody's always drunk and fighting over there.
Yeah. They like to drink their beer for sure.
Fucking Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe getting mad at Clickhole.
Fighting around the world. It's the best. It's like a fucking reality show with Russell Crowe just going around to different places and getting into fights and beating people up.
Beating them with telephones. Good old Russell Crowe.
Those are things that I like. So how's everything else going, Jesse?
Everything's all right. Like I told you off air, in the process of moving out of our apartments. It's been hell this week. But in my downtime, in order to get away from everything, I started playing Animal Crossing City Folk for the Wii.
Oh, that explains your comment.
Yeah. So I was playing it on the I was playing on the Wii U. Like you can still play Wii discs on the Wii U. So I was playing it on the Wii U, and like playing it now, like the whole Tom Nook thing is extremely like, it's a bit much, because it reminded me of like how much student debt I have. Because like you go to this place and you want to do all these great things, and this guy shows up and he's like, I can give you this land of opportunity, but I'm going to hold it over your head. Oh, and by the way, you're going to work for me and do my errands and go outside and plant fucking plants outside my shop, bitch, and, you know, sell me fruit. And it's kind of a crazy concept. You don't like, he's like, they try to play it off as he's cute, but it's like he's really scary.
Well, have you've seen all this shit? Like, if you just like
the
go on
memes,
the
yeah.
internet, there's like that one thing that's like Tom Nook, and he's got like puppet strings, and all the people are hooked to them, and he's just like laughing with all these giant money bags around him and shit.
And like he's in every one. Did you know they're coming out with a new? They're coming out with a new one for the 3DS.
Did they just announce this?
Yeah, at E3, but it's a real estate game, and you work real estate for Tom Nook, and they showed like they showed dialogue from it, and he's just like a menace in that game too. And,
well, dude, his fucking kids are no better.
I
got New Leaf, and that's like one of the only games I play on my fucking 3DS, and like you walk in their shop, and they're just like, "Hey, you gonna buy something?" And then when you choose something like and you purchase, they're like, I need to collect that payment now. And they're like, ooh, so shiny. They're like fucking Gollum and shit. Like, my precious.
It's terrifying. Tom Nook is terrifying. Who had children with Tom Nook?
I don't know, but she's obviously no longer with us. She's probably dead. He probably murdered
his late wife.
Probably murdered her and shit. That's why it's all fucked up when I'm playing Mario Kart and I play the Animal Crossing level.
Right.
Tom Nook is just chilling on the side, and it's just like, why are you here?
Because you know he owns the track, and he's betting on it.
He does, and that's what he makes everybody fucking stand there. And he's just like, they're all jumping up and down because they got money on the race. They got that money on Danky Kang.
Danky Kang, though. Mario Kart 8, still good. I was playing a little bit of that. Played some, I don't know, I've been breaking out the Wii U a little more because
you're not going to have a TV pretty soon.
Yeah, because
you're going to be homeless, Jesse.
I'm going to be homeless.
How does that feel?
Because it's kind of something we've just had out and been playing a lot. Like at night after packing, Gab and I will play like 2 rounds of Mario Party or something, Mario Party 10. And so it's just been kind of like around and in view. So like I was playing Super Smash Wii U for a little bit, and it's good stuff.
My wife is always just like, why do you play Mario Kart? And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, well, you always get angry. And I'm like, but I like it. And
but
she's
it's
like,
good.
yeah, but how do you like it? Because you're always angry. I'm like, you just don't understand. Like, you just don't get it. Like, it's a love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
I like the game, but I hate it when it's fucking cheap. Which is like
all the time.
Well, as soon as you cross that 100cc and you finish that,
yeah,
you're just like fucked.
You're just asking for it.
200cc, forget about it. I don't even know why they put it there except to be fucking assholes.
I I think I think Nintendo with those types like Mario Party and Mario Kart, their big thing is just to troll the fuck out of everyone.
You think fucking what's his name? Who's the guy who runs Nintendo?
Miyamoto?
Yeah, you think he's sitting there laughing? He's like, ha 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 ha!
Probably. Have you seen him?
White people,
Uh,
you're so fucked. Give me your money.
they announced Mario Tennis for Wii U. I'm pretty excited for that. I played the
That'd
fuck
be
out of
interesting.
Mario Tennis for N64.
Is it gonna be like motion?
I would think so. Probably like Wii Tennis was or whatever that was. Probably be a lot like that.
Well, Mario Kart games never get old. Even the old ones are still fucking fun to play.
Yeah, man.
Even
that
though
Mario-
they're brutal.
Get that Mario Kart for Virtual Console. You can play it anytime you want.
But I did just fucking 3-star one of the tracks before we started this that I've been
You
trying
did?
forever. The one with the desert, and it's got the Twisted Mansion in it, which is like the fucking Boo haunted house. My
Yeah.
kid loves that one because he loves the fucking like haunted mansion shit
Right.
with the ghosts.
Yeah.
And he always wants me to play that one, and I've been trying to get through it, and a bunch of times I'll get like first place on the first few races, and then I get to that Shy Guy Falls or whatever,
Oh man,
and then
yeah.
I just get fucked. Or some shit happens and I'm in first place, and then they just bombard me right before, and I go from first to seventh, and like literally I can see the finish line.
I know.
but-
It's maddening.
But tonight I just fucking destroyed everybody, and then my kid was like asking me questions, and I had gotten like first place in the first 3 races, and to the point where nobody could even hit me because I was so far ahead.
Uh-huh.
And so he's like talking to me, and I was like, Gage, I don't mean to, be mean, but can you just hold your questions until I'm done with this last race? Because I've been trying for months to 3-star this one, and Daddy wants to fucking be done with this.
Right. Put it to
My-
bed.
My wife just started laughing at me and was just shaking her head, and I'm just like, you don't understand. It's just, she's like, why? I'm like, because I want to accomplish something.
Don't look at me like that, Amy.
And because when I win, I feel like I accomplished something. But then I'm done with it. And I'm like,
Right.
I'm not touching it again. It's just so infuriating sometimes. Rage quit Mario Kart so many times. Because she was asking me, she's like, why do you turn it off? Because like I'll do like the first race, and then I'll be doing well, and then I'll finish in like 6th, then I'll just
Right, it's
fucking
like,
turn
fuck.
it off.
Like dumb. Just I can't
She's
even.
like, why don't you keep playing? I'm like, because there's no point. She's like, what do you mean there's no point? I'm like, well, I'm not gonna win. She's like, well, you can still get first place. I'm like, doesn't matter.
You gotta get 3 stars. It's all that
It's
matters.
like, yeah, I'm like, if I'm not gonna get the stars, I don't give a fuck. I'm
Yeah.
done. I'm out. Leaving. I'm gonna go drink myself to sleep. So
Super Smash is like that too. It's just fucking cheap as fuck. But
yeah, I've tried to get into those games.
you just can't.
No. I
It's
just
alright.
can't, because they're like, I think the problem that I have is like,
They're not really fighting games.
yeah, and it zooms out, and then everything's all small, and I can't tell what's going on.
Right. It is kind of like a lot to watch. And now that they've added 8 players to the screen, it's like just a joke.
It's too much.
I know.
It's like ADD, the video game.
It's a lot.
It
It's a lot.
actually is like ADD, the video game, because people are just mashing buttons, and stuff is falling, and people are screaming, and the like level is just falling apart around you.
Yeah, it's nuts.
And it's just like, I don't understand how people can focus in on this.
It's a good time though. It's fun.
Yeah, I didn't really watch anything with E3 this week, so
I did. I watched the Sony press conference. It was good. And I was at work the next day when Nintendo was having theirs, and all I saw was new Star Fox coming to Wii U, and fucking new Mario Tennis, and that Yoshi's Woolly World, which looks adorable. So
yeah.
look, everyone said and Nintendo was a disappointment this year, but I don't think they're any more disappointing than they normally are when they give press conferences. They're fine. It was fine. They didn't show any Zelda stuff, which was kind of a bummer because they are working on the next one. So, but
It's coming,
okay.
son.
I know it's exciting.
It's gonna be ridiculous.
But they are working on a new console, so I hope they don't do like the Twilight Princess thing where they like release it on GameCube or not GameCube, Wii U, and then their next system. So we'll see.
Oh, Nintendo, you so crazy.
Yeah,
You so crazy. I'm still just mad that Silent Hill got canceled.
Yeah,
Still angry.
that whole Konami thing is just
Whatever
fucking-
happened to fucking Metal Gear?
Metal Gear's coming out.
I thought it was supposed to be out already.
No, it comes out in September.
Oh.
No, yeah. I'm ready for that.
Fuck. I saw that they were fucking remastering all the Uncharted games.
Yep, they're gonna do that. I don't know if I'll buy that because I've already played all 3 of those games to death, but I think it's a really great package if you never played them.
Mhm.
The Uncharted 4 demo they gave was phenomenal.
Oh, I'm sure.
It looked gorgeous. Just seeing Sully and Nate in all those graphics it was great.
My boy Sully.
Yeah.
Sully.
Yeah, that's about it. I don't know. Wasn't
Yeah,
like I mean
Uncharted.
Fallout 4 and whatever. It was a good E3. I thought it wasn't like ridiculous. The Last Guardian is coming out after 8 years, and
Man, if you told me that Fallout was still going to be going and people were still going to be excited about it, like in 2015.
thinking about where it started from.
Yeah, because I played like the original Fallout and I was like, this game's all right, but it like kind of sucks.
Those old Interplay games are kind of tough to play now too.
Yeah, they're difficult as fuck.
Yeah.
Fucking mouse and you're just walking around and you're like
Mhm.
fucking 3/4 top-down view.
The isometric view, yeah.
Yeah, it's like the best game though. Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
There you go.
That game was sweet. You just walk around with like squirt guns
Mm-hmm.
and the fucking monsters come after you. And there's like hundreds of fucking levels. And it just gets balls out fucking hard because you got to try to save the neighbors. And if they get eaten, then you're fucked.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get up to the higher levels, there's just like one neighbor and you like have to beeline it to them. And if you don't, like, they just get fucking eaten by like werewolves and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like almost impossible. So fucking game.
That's what video games used to be, man.
Well, they used to be even worse than that. You want like the ultimate anger? Go back and play Ghosts and Goblins.
Oh no, Ghosts and Goblins is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, that game was just like rage-inducing. Like I think to this day, the farthest I've ever gotten there was like the third world or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And then they like made a new one for Xbox back when the Xbox, the first one, and it was just it was very bad.
Yeah, that's what I heard. The Super Nintendo one's all right. Super Nintendo was probably the best like cartridge-based system ever.
No, it's probably one of the best systems, probably the best system I would say ever.
Yeah.
But
Solid, man. Solid. No loading times.
I know
Those chip tunes.
those chiptunes that built in memory cards.
Fucking batteries that die in the cartridge after
Yeah,
however many years.
yeah.
Although I still got games that have those in there and they still work and it's been like 20 years.
Yeah, they can last. They can last a long time, and they can also. I mean, I guess it depends on a lot of factors.
Yeah.
But
I've still got like original Zelda cartridge that's like the gold one
right,
from way back in the day and it still keeps its memory.
that's awesome.
So I'm just old, so I got a lot of that stuff because I got the Nintendo like when it first came out.
Yeah, that's.
Grandma got it for. I have the fucking robot that all those kids like fuck themselves up on
Yeah.
because he had the spinning discs that for some reason had a sharp blade around the edge. I
Yeah.
don't know why. It
Way
just
to go.
seems like it doesn't make sense. It's like you're going to advertise this for kids, give him this cool robot. In order for him to work, he's got to have these spinny things.
That could
So let's
cut-
put knives around the corners of them.
It's like that new villain in that Turbo Kid movie.
Pretty much.
The buzzsaws that just fly out.
I want to see that movie so bad.
I know. It looks amazing.
It's the thing I fucking hate. You know, like with all the stuff that goes on at this point with VOD and the things that we can get a hold of, it's like I still just get like fucking so annoyed because film festival time comes up. There's all this shit that I want to see, and then it ends up taking like 2 years.
Right, for it to get anywhere.
And you've been hearing about it for 2 years, so inevitably, almost always, it's never as good as you were hoping because you've been waiting for it for 2
Right,
years.
you built it up for year after year after year.
Yeah, and you know, it's like some people be like, oh well, you shouldn't get so excited about it, and it's like, but it's kind of hard not to.
And yeah, well, especially if you're just waiting for so long, you hear people like certain people still talk about it because they've seen it already. It's just like
Pretty much, man. Pretty much. It's fucking redonkulous and shit. I don't know, man. So anyway.
So how are you? You fine? You good?
Besides work being a pain in the ass, and I got to get up early tomorrow because my wife is running a race.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to get up and make sure that the child doesn't kill himself.
Right.
He's going to get up at probably like 5 a.m. because that's what he does. I think he's just trolling me.
He is trolling you. He's listening right now. He's like, I'm going to get up at 5 fucking a.m.
I'm pretty sure, like, I was like, when I came down here, I was like, good night, Gage. And he's just like, I'm not going to bed. And I was like, yeah, but you better be in fucking bed by the time that I come upstairs, man.
Yeah, bro.
Because you're not staying up, motherfucker.
I made you.
Did. By accident. Oh, kids, man, kids. Don't do it.
Don't ever do it.
Don't do it. So, I don't know. I think it's probably an appropriate time to take a break and then come back, talk about what we've been watching.
Yeah, bro.
My guess is it's just going to be you and me for the rest of the night because I haven't heard shit from Sir Chadwick. So
Of the young, except on Twitter.
I haven't looked on Twitter recently.
Well, I mean, like, just the convo we were having before.
Oh, yeah, where he was arguing with Chuck Connors about fucking wrestling figures.
Yeah.
I called them dolls, and Chuck Connors got all mad. And then
We all
they
just
started having a fucking dick contest
dick waving contest
over wrestling dolls. Without fail, I'm going to get a Twitter message from Chuck. And he's going to be like, they're not dolls, they're action figures. He already did it once, but he's going to listen to this and he's going to get all red in the face and tweet at me.
They're dolls.
And that's why when Chris was just like, yo, I'm taking Jesse. And I was like, no, man, if you do that, I'm going to podcast. Because he's like, we can have Chuck. And I'm like, dude, I do not want a podcast with Chad and Chuck.
They'd run you out on a rail, man.
I would just be like sitting back. Like basically what would happen is I would pull a fucking Bud Dwyer.
Mm-hmm.
We'd be podcasting and I'd be like, I'm turning the video on for this feed, and you would just see me stick a gun in my mouth, and then that'd be it.
No.
Podcast is over forever.
Bud Dwyer.
Hey man, nice shot.
Yeah.
That fucking Bud Dwyer though.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty fucked up what happened to him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you ever seen that documentary.
No,
it.
Yeah.
But I watched it and I was like, damn. And then you watch that video and it's like, damn, those motherfuckers were just like filming that shit.
Right.
They didn't give a fuck. They were just like, yo, I'm going to just film this motherfucker.
Smile.
Smile, bitch. Oh, look, it's Dylan. Hi, Dylan.
Dylan Lyles.
Yeah,
R.I.P.
Dylan just messaged us.
R.I.P. Dylan Lyles.
R.I.P. Dylan Lyles. R.I.P. Juggalos. All right, with that being said, I think we're going to take a break here, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about some movies and how much of a rapist Tom Nook is.
Oh, man.
Because fuck Tom Nook. You know what I'm saying, though?
I know what you're saying.
Fuck Tom Nook. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back, and we'll see you then.
I'm ready. Here we go. Yo, Donkey. Yo, what's up, man? Yo, what's happening tonight, man? I'm going to check out a few skis over there, you know what I'm saying? Yo, man, I seen a lot of skis in this place tonight, man. I know, I'm ready for the wild thing, you know what I'm saying? And it goes a little something like this.
Some say it's an art, some say it's a shame. You would give me your body for your hands. I'm a jigger high and I'm a jigger low. I'm a jigger wherever it be go. So later on, don't act like you don't know. When I pick out the bricks in the front row, I'm a rapper James, that's the rapper S. We're known for playing tag team set. When I get you in the house, you know what I do. Well, let me tell you a story that's definitely true. When I came to the party, I was by myself. 9 times out of 10, I'm leaving someone else. It's something about the way I my jammy on the top and then I wear them. Cause I'm a hoe, you know I'm a hoe. I rock feed in the streets after every show. I'm a hoe, you know I'm a hoe. How do you know? Because I told you so. Now I'm a lover of many, I just may be, but I'll never touch another man's property. If you got a little mama, you wanna keep a neat, to keep a little freak off my street. Because if she comes knocking at my door, it's my duty to give her what she came there for. What can I say? That's the life I live. Now how's your wife and my kids? Cause I'm a hoe, you know I'm a hoe. I rock feed in the streets after every show. I'm a hoe, you know I'm a hoe. How do you know? Because I told you so. Now if I knock on your door, you should open it up. You wanna know who it is, the neighborhood. I'm rocking free all through the week. Now when I say free, I mean the ones with the sneak. I mean the ones with the nerve, the ones with the guts to call me a hoe when they're giving it up. So I think it's about time you all learn the lessons. What bustin' is our new profession. Cause I'm a hoe, you know I'm a hoe. I rock feed in the streets after every show. I'm a hoe, you know I'm a hoe. How do you know? Because I told you so.
Toe up, dog. Sound like you man. Wow, man. Bro, it's true. Let me tell you about it. Yo, and she came with the same type game, the type of girl giving out the fake cell phone, the name. Big fame, she like capture big things. Jewel ship, money clip, phone flip the 6 range. And seen her on the app, spotted her more than once. Ass so fat that you can see it from the hood. Got me like paparazzi. Shot me a glance and that cat woman stands with the fat booty pants. Hot damn. What's your name, love? Where you came from? Neck wrist laced up, very little makeup. The swims at the Reebok gym, tone your frame up a sugar and spice. The only
thing that you made of.
Play a low key but couldn't keep it down. Asked her to dance and she was like, yo, I'm
even now.
Hour later, sounds from Jamaica. She sipping Chris straight up, shaking while in the waist up. Scene 2. My fam throwing the jam for Reed is on the stand. Big things is in the plan. The brother Big Moon makes space for me to move in here. Yo, this my man Most, baby, let me introduce. I turn around. You was the same pretty bird who I had priorly observed, trying to play me for the herd. Shocked to tell she couldn't get it together. I just played along and pretended I never met her. How you feeling? No, I'm fine. My name is Moses. So much good about you. It's nice to finally meet. He moved to the booth, reserved for crew, especially. And Honey Love ended up sitting directly next to me. I'm type polite, but now I'm looking at her skeptically. This baby girl got all the right weaponry. Designer fabric, shoes, and accessories. Chinky eyes, sweet voice, got me mentally. Be conversated, made her laugh, yeah, you know me, bro. Even though I know the stilo, she wild, sweet, yo. I'm about to murk, I say peace to the family. She hop up like, how you gonna leave before you dance with me? Dance with me. She blew my whole head with that dude. I was like, what? I played it low though. I was like, yeah, all right, come on now, let's go. Nah, just so sick. I said, yo, Honey was so blazing. She was just, what? Yo, she looked like J. Kennedy. Word bomb to my mama, man. She was that L, man. She take you to the dance floor and you start whispering to me. Yo, let me apologize for the other night. I know it wasn't right, but baby, you know what it's like. Some brothers don't become right. I understand, I'm feeling you. Besides, can I have a dance? Ain't really that original. We laugh about it, trace the arms across my shoulder blades. They playing lovers rock, I got to fold the fingers on her waist. He and my butt up like the Arizona summer song finished. And she whispered, honey, let's exchange numbers. Scene 3. Weeks in late and late night conversation in the crib, heart racing, trying to be cool and patient. She touched on my eyelids, the room fell silent. She walked away smiling, singing Gregory Isaacs like, if I don't, I don't. Showing me a tan line and a tattoo, playing Sade, sweetest taboo, burning candles. All my other plans got canceled. Man, I smashed it like an Idaho potato. She called me at my jail, come now, I can't say no. Jensen tree trunks, rocking a P from cocking her knees up. Champion lover, not ease up. 3 months, she call, I feel I'm running a fever. 6 months, I'm telling her I desperately
Lead her.
much blue light symptoms with shorty not around. I need more than to knock it down. I'm really trying to lock it down. Midnight we hook up and go at it. Burn a stove and let her know, sweetheart, I got to have it. She telling me commitment is something she can't manage. Wake up the next morning, she gone like it was magic. Oh damn it. It's on Harrison, full frantic. My number wasn't answered by my fly Taurus enchantress. Next, who hit me up? I saw Sharice at the kitty club with some banging ass Asian playing. Lay it down and lick me up. What? Yo, can you believe that shit though? Yeah, I was like, what? Oh man, I was so sick.
Hi, this is Davia. I am from the Exorcast. Every week, we talk all about pornography, beards, and horror movies. I used to have a co-host named Vincent, but he is off somewhere playing with dildos and dressing up like Judge Dredd. So, now I have a guy named Chuck and another guy named Newsfinder General, and we have more fun without Vincent because he is a sack of shit. We love the Dead Air guys, but James is a little rapey, Jeff is too drunk, Jesse thinks he is Nick Cage, and Sean, well, I don't know where Sean is, probably at a gas station giving hand jobs. So, when you are done listening to these assholes, you should go to exorcast.com and listen to us, assholes. I am sorry that I sound like a robot, but I have not given Jeff a new bumper in a long time, so he had to make this one. Go fuck yourself. Exorcast.com. Bitch. The power of pornography compels you. Thank you.
Oh man, those fucking text to speech, man.
Pretty great. You know what's else? You know what else is pretty great?
What's that?
Black on Both Sides.
Yeah, that is a good fucking record, man.
Oh, it's so good.
Most Def.
Yeah, when he was, that's probably his best album. He kind of got a little
soft.
Yeah.
He got too into religion.
He got into his Islam too much, but his, I mean, I like his other stuff. It's just they're not. I feel like Black on Both Sides. Like I can listen to the whole thing through and just love the whole thing. Like it starts off so strong and it keeps going, and then like with his, you know, his, I forget the name of it, the one where like that's red with the guy running on the front, and then the one after that where he like changed his name. But like,
well, that's why I got all confused because I saw that movie he was in that I was telling you about, and it's like he's got his crazy new name on there. And I'm like,
right,
Most Def is in it, but it doesn't say Most Def.
It's like Yamin or something,
Yeah,
right?
some crazy shit.
But like, and he was awesome in Black Star with Talib Kweli. Like before that too, like Black Star was so good. That one album they put out.
Mm-hmm.
And Talib, his solo stuff is like okay, but
oh yeah, I was not too impressed with most of his other stuff.
yeah, he had that one big song, and that was about it.
So yeah, that was Houdini with I'm a Hoe, and then Most Def with is it Miss Big Booty, Miss Fat Booty? I don't remember which one it is offhand.
Ass so fat you can see it from the front.
Miss Fat Booty. And then what you heard was a bumper from our friends over at Exorcast, which you can check them out at exorcast.com. And it always makes me laugh because with the text to speech, it sounds like it's saying exorcast.com. And I'm surprised that they don't have a .com domain at this, because you would think that the porn industry would be all over that. So, but you could check those dudes out. We love them. We were just giving Chuck shit earlier because we were making fun of him and our other quote unquote co-host, Chad, who came on as a co-host, and for whatever reason he seems to like not watch the movies and disappear early or not show up to the shows recently. So Chad, I'm calling you out. Get your ass on this podcast. And I told him, so he picked the movie for next week, by the way.
Was it Vendetta?
Yes. So I told him, you know, that if you pick the movie, that means you have to show up for the show, you have to actually watch the movie, and you have to stay for the whole thing, right? And he was like, fuck you. And I was like, I'm just being serious because the last few weeks you like disappear. Like, I don't know what happened last week. He just disappeared.
Just boom.
Something about a rabbit.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Bugs Bunny.
And then the other times he's like, I didn't see the movie, because he always waits till Thursday, and then he's like, I can't get out to see it, or the day of, like Friday, and something happens. I'm just like, motherfucker, hurry up. So yeah, you can check out Exorcast. We like them. Shut up, Chuck. Hashtag Shut up, Chuck. I need to make a new bumper for those dudes, because Chris, I keep asking Chris to give me a new bumper, and he never does.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the next one, I'm just gonna literally take a couple of their episodes and cut all of the spots where Chris tells Chuck to shut up, and just cut them into like a super cut of Chuck saying dumb shit with Chris telling him to shut up, and just be like, if you listen to Extracast, you can hear engaging conversation like this. Shut up, Chuck. Because there was at least one episode where he just did that like 18 times, and it was fucking hilarious.
It's pretty good.
It's killing me. And I think Dylan was saying stuff about Most Def in the Q&A. It disappeared though, so I don't know what happened to it.
You don't know if did he like him or does he hate him?
Yeah, no, he likes. I don't think he was angry. How can you be angry at Most Def? Unless you're that fucking white guy from yesterday. That guy just fuck that guy.
Super fuck that guy.
And then fucking somebody made did you see the terrible Twitter parody account that somebody made earlier?
No.
And it was just like we dead bruh, and it was like all just pictures of the dead people from that shooting, and they were just saying horrible offensive things. Twitter ended up blocking it and taking it down, but
Jesus,
it's still fucked up that anybody would even do that.
Yeah.
So,
well, you give
Anyway, rest in peace, Chad Young.
R.I.P. Chad Young.
And apparently R.I.P. Dylan, because he disappeared from there. He is. He was saying that he was hanging out too much with Jack Black.
Oh, okay.
So that's what happened to Most Def.
Yeah, probably.
They were making them videotapes, though.
They were. And they got the spray that makes the poop go away.
Pretty much. Legit. Hashtag legitimate.
Yeah, Be Kind Rewind was the name of that movie.
Yup.
What a weird movie.
That is such a fucking weird movie. What's even weirder is the fact that so many people like really fucking love it. And I'm like, well, it's not bad, but it's kind of goofy in the fact that they were using VHS tapes in video stores when they really didn't exist anymore.
Right. It was weird.
Was what was really who directed that? I can't remember offhand. Do you remember? I don't remember.
I remember I saw it when it came out, and at that time I wasn't really paying attention to it.
Well, I see, Jesse, you were all up in that culture.
That was my that was my jam.
That was your shit. Oh, I can see you giving ratings to movies, Jesse. It makes me happy.
What ratings?
For Dope.
Oh, that's right. I think that's the only movie I saw this week.
Okay, so this is gonna be a short section then, huh?
Yeah, well, I've just been packing and I just had zero time to
Homeless
watch.
Bartel.
Homeless, yeah, living in my
so,
car.
So just, I guess, to get this out of the way now, and I'll probably reiterate it again at the very end of the show, but next week we will be probably reviewing Vendetta, which is the new Soska Sisters action movie with WWE dudes in it. And that is because Chad picked it, but the caveat is that if for some reason Chad doesn't show up or watch the movie, then I'm not fucking reviewing that movie. So I'm going to be the one waiting till the last minute to make sure that he actually saw it and is coming on the show. Because if he does what he's done the last couple of weeks, I'm just picking something else. I'll fucking watch The Stranger.
I heard that's kind of bad.
Is it? Oh, whatever. Can't be any worse than the fucking movie I watched last weekend. I'll tell you that much.
What did you watch last weekend?
Oh, I'll get there.
All right, cool.
So
you
why
watched
don't
the Sweet Blood of Jesus too?
Oh, fuck that movie. That Sweet Blood of Jesus. Chad was like, I'm gonna get Jesse back for the Sweet Blood of Jesus.
I didn't choose that movie, did I?
Yeah, you did.
I did?
You brought it up, and then we were like, Oh yeah, Dylan's right. He said it was the same dude that did Eternal Sunshine. It was Michael Gondry or
Wow.
Michel Gondry,
That's crazy.
but a French name.
Oh,
Oh.
you like my movies?
You like Most Def and VHS tapes. Why am I talking like Dracula?
It's R.I.P. Christopher Lee.
Oh yes, R.I.P. Christopher Lee again. For real. I don't even know. Somebody else died this week, but there's too many people that die. And when Chad's not here, I'm not going to bother doing the eulogies because it just doesn't work.
The you Googleizers.
You Googleizers. Who died? Who run it? Who run it? So, Jesse, what did you watch this week that you want to tell people about? Or what did you play? What did you interact with media-wise?
Well, I talked about the video games I was interacting with already, but last night went to the enemy. I went to a corporate bookstore and went to Barnes and Noble, but they had a special where if you bought 2 Goosebumps books, you got a free Goosebumps book light, which is like a skeleton hand with a little light on it, which is really cool. And like sold separately, it's only like $7. And the books are about like $7 a piece anyway, so you're just buying an extra book. But it was like a nice excuse to be like, oh, I'll get another, like, I'll just get 2 Goosebumps books. And I got 2 that I've already read. But with they put that new artwork on it, which is not very good at all. Not like the old artwork. But I'm gonna read them in like one night at some point. So I got the book light, got some Goosebumps, went with John Squires, and we got our Goosebumps, and then we were like, I was like, you want to see Dope? He's like, I'll see Dope, and because the movie theater was right there, and we're gonna make a night of the whole thing. So went and saw Dope, and that is a very good movie.
Would you say that it's dope?
I would say it is dope. It is a movie that I went in just seeing like a trailer for it and not knowing much else other than it was getting some praise through the festival circuit, and then ended up like really surprised by how crazy, weird, and wild it is. Like that movie's really weird.
Yeah, the fucking trailer does not look like they try to sell it like it's like, hey, look, like little hip hop kids.
Yeah, they try to like really like make it look like Boys in the Hood or something like that. But the movie is so ridiculous. Like it's ridiculous some of the things that happen in this movie. And it's hilarious too, with like a really dark sense of humor. But basically the movie follows this kid in Inglewood his name's Malcolm, and he has 2 friends. One is a guy, the other's a girl who's a lesbian, who everyone thinks is a boy, and that kind of plays throughout the movie. And basically he's a super smart kid. He's in a really bad neighborhood. And he wants to go to Harvard, but like even his teachers are like, you're never going to get into Harvard. What are you kidding me? Like, look at you where you are. So basically the movie talks about how people in that situation, if they want to better themselves, sometimes they have to end up doing things that are very like either bad or in gray area because they can't get out. Like they're held down by so many factors that will not allow them to get out. So they have to kind of push themselves that way. And he like makes a point, like, I'm not playing basketball, I'm not playing ball, like I'm just a kid who likes music and I'm smart. And that's hard to do anything with that when you're in Inglewood. And
Inglewood.
Yeah. And so the movie just follows him like it's like kind of like a snowball effect of like bad things that happen to him, and he's trying to get away, like trying to get out of each situation. And like it's a movie that's super funny, but there's these situations that are extremely like they have consequences. Like at any time, any of those characters you could feel like one of them could die, and it wasn't a joke in that sense. Like, but the movie was really good about balance. There's like a good modulation between humor and also this like drama, like this Boys in the Hood drama. Like it definitely feels like a modern Boys in the Hood, where you're telling this very much situated, grounded drama about people who are like pushed down by forces that are out of their control, and they're just the only option for them is to get in more trouble. The difference between that movie and this one is that it has a really sense of it's almost a comedy at times. And the soundtrack is astounding. The kid in the movie and his friends are obsessed with 90s hip hop music, and so that's all you hear through the whole movie. And there is one Korn song that plays too for whatever reason.
Because Korn was rap.
Yeah, it is it is a wild movie, and I think you, Jeff, it will be like a movie you'll adore because it's just like right up your alley. But yeah, I super loved it. I thought it was really fantastic, and different, and a movie I was actually surprised to see that there was as many people on a Thursday night at 9:30 there to like see it. I was really happy about that.
Well, it's good because they didn't even have any. I was gonna go see it last night, but they didn't have any Thursday night showings of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's in like 1 or 2 theaters here,
Right.
but it was not like, and I could see the theater that they're putting it in, so I can see the one it's on one screen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in the smallest screen, like the one where you go down the corridor and it's like all the way at the very back right next to the exit.
Yeah.
That's where it's going to be showing, and that's probably what I'm going to go see either tomorrow or Sunday. I'll probably go see it.
Yeah, well, I implore you.
I was like as soon as I found out that it was actually going to get a wide release
Mm-hmm.
to theaters, I was like, I'm fucking going to see it because I've heard stuff about it, but as soon as I like heard what it was about,
Mm-hmm.
like at a very high level, I was like, this is like right up my alley.
Right. It's really great. One of the better films I've seen this year for sure, and extremely memorable. And it definitely drives a point home at the end, which I thought was really effective. And there's like a moment at really gut wrenching and like very emotional, and not nobody. And it's not from a death or anything. It's just a scene that is very, very emotional that shows just this intensity that can happen when you are just absolutely like pushed to your limits when you're trying to do the right thing. And it totally moved me in a way that I did not think it would. And I just hope people check it out. I hope people give it a chance. And I'm just like, I don't know if they've already started, but I feel like there was going to be like a gajillion think pieces this weekend about how the movie gets this wrong, gets that wrong, about either race or about inner city, hood politics, whatever you want to call it. Like, it's just, I was just afraid that this movie would be like subject to that, because it seems like every movie these days you just can't enjoy, without somebody like just yelling at you for liking it. So I haven't seen it.
That one's got like a 99 on Rotten Tomatoes or something like that.
Yeah, I know, but it's never like the reviews. It's always like the day laters where they're just like writing these, like they're just looking for something. Like I think we'll talk about this later, but like film criticism has become just a horrid piece of shit. And it's because that it's not like, oh, well, let's have this really intelligent discourse or conversation on either why this movie works, why it doesn't work, these different aspects, these philosophical aspects of this movie. It has now turned into, let's find this one very particular thing, blow it up, and make it seem like if you like it, then you're a bad person. And
well, there's some intelligent conversation going on. I think the big thing though is I don't think the majority of larger sites or media outlets are gonna really talk too much about that.
Right.
Like I have a feeling that it's one of those movies that, you know, out where you are, it probably has a bunch of people, but I can almost guarantee when I go, there'll be like a handful of people there.
Right.
But the rest of them don't even know that it's out.
Right.
They kind of acquired it and then threw it on the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And there really hasn't been, you know, they played it, the trailer in front of a couple movies out here, but they didn't start playing it until like last week.
Right.
So I don't think there's awareness out here, at least where I am, of the movie as much. And maybe I'm going to be completely wrong, but I doubt it.
Right.
I mean, I think there'll be, you know, there'll probably, like if I go on a Saturday night, there'll probably be like a half full theater. But
right.
You know, again, it's not good. Everybody's still going to be going to see Jurassic World. So
right. Well, I think I'm just like, for me, like I think this is just a separate conversation in that, like, I'm afraid to say that I like a movie anymore, because I feel like days later something's going to come out. You know, it was like when Dawn of the Planet of the Apes came out, and then like a week or a few days later, people were like, "Well, this movie's racist," and it's like, "What are you like? What?"
That's kind of a racist thing to say.
Well, yeah, because you are using a stereotype that has been given, and you are applying it when nobody else had applied it or even was thinking about that. That's you on you. You know what I mean?
That's where like sensitivity becomes racism.
Yeah,
That's
sort of.
stupid. That's fucking dumb. Like it's like only you would think about. You know what I mean? It's like what?
Right.
Why? And I don't mean you. I mean like the collective
Mhm.
you about people that just do that.
The
And it's
royal
like,
you.
yeah, and it's just it's fucking dumb because we
Right.
live in this world where everything has to be so number one. So it's a weird discussion because I hate to say that. I hate to pick on people for saying certain things, but it's like I don't believe in political correctness in a lot of ways because
Right.
I think that making things too PC is just as harmful as
Dangerous. Yeah.
being terrible. But there's this thing where it's like, okay, so if it's comedy, then things are allowed to be, I mean, there's certain boundaries, right? There's certain things that are just not funny. Period.
Or
because
if it's literature, it's somehow completely okay and nobody talks about it.
yeah, well, it's because nobody reads.
That's right. That's true.
Because we live in America, Jesse.
I forgot. Sorry.
We live in the land of non-reading and Transformers and superheroes. Like that's what people want here is they want fucking big robots with no plot. They
Right.
don't want to read, Jesse.
I know. I'm sorry.
If they
My
even know
fault.
how.
My bad. My bad.
But you know what I'm saying? So there's this weird line where it's like I think so Jerry Seinfeld got completely criticized for this just recently because he said that the problem with comedy is that everybody's being too fucking PC now.
Right.
And then everybody attacked him for it. And I'm like, but he's pretty much right. Like,
right.
Like that is the problem because especially with comedy, as soon as one thing is off limits, then everything's off limits.
Yeah, because then you're completely closing the door on any sort of relevant conversation.
Or you're singling out what's okay to make fun of, which
Right.
then makes it almost more offensive because then you're saying, okay, well, it's okay to make fun of this certain group of people or this religion.
And this goes back to I don't know if I complained about it here, but I complained about it on Twitter when you're talking about things like Game of Thrones, where people will watch the episode and then like the next day there's just all these things like, have they gone too far and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I think people are just afraid of being feeling uncomfortable anymore.
That's called clickbait.
Yeah, it's that. I mean, there's a whole other element that's like very like there's a lot of schemes going on in terms of like traffic and getting your ad money. But I mean, there's also this thing of like people are afraid of feeling uncomfortable, and feeling uncomfortable is a feeling that you can have because it's making you think and making you realize that that's icky, and it's okay to feel icky because that makes you realize that you're a human being and that's not okay. So if you see a rape on television and you feel icky, that's a good thing because you're realizing that maybe that's not a good thing. You know what I mean?
Well, right, and it's also the difference is there's one thing about it being in fiction to accentuate something or to prove a point or to do that. It's another thing to be like, yo, we're just gonna show like this rape for like 10 minutes,
right?
And we're gonna like show rape, and then 10 minutes later somebody else is gonna get raped. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like the rapes in Death Wish where like the chick gets raped and then she gets away and then she gets raped again.
Right.
And then she gets away and then she gets raped and killed and then they rape her again. It's like that is too much.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But in some movies like Irreversible, it's not an enjoyable rape scene, but rape isn't supposed to be an enjoyable rape scene. And that's why it's so fucking weird that like there are dudes out there, mostly dudes, I'm gonna guess. Ladies, I don't mean to single you out. Maybe some of you enjoy rape, but but there are people out there that will like judge a film and be like, yo, this one has the best rape scene. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, really? Like, I don't like watching rape scenes. But I get it. But at the same time, it's like, so have they gone too far? It's like, no, nothing's fucking gone too far. The only thing that's gonna go too far is maybe if you're like raping babies.
Right. Serbian film.
Yeah, and even that is like not necessarily too far as much as it is they were just intending to shock.
Right. And it's almost abstract to the point of like
being
surrealism.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like it goes into like ridiculous and almost becomes comedy,
Right.
but it's like fucked up comedy that's not funny.
Right.
But we could have a whole discussion on that movie, and then everybody who defends it is just like, well, they're trying to say something about Serbia, and I'm like, no, they're not. They were just trying to get a movie made and get notorious for something.
Right.
And good for them. They did it. And there's some, like, the movie looks really good.
It does.
But I still don't think that the movie, like, I think it was completely predictable once I realized what was going on. I knew how it was going to end.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's some fucked up shit in it. Is it something that I want to sit there and watch? No. Is it because it disturbed me? Not really. But it's just not something that I feel like, just like, I really love Requiem. I can't talk. I really love Requiem for a Dream, but it's not the kind of movie that I sit down and watch.
No.
Regular fucking Dylan. No, it was not a political statement. Shut up, Dylan. Hashtag shut up, Dylan. By the way, the Q&A is open. If you're listening and you want to tell us that we're a bunch of idiots, or if you want to ask us a question, I do have it open and I'm paying attention to it this week. So, but it's just one of those things where I think that's just like, it's dumb shit. So I think it's stupid when people start getting into what's too far versus what's politically correct. And I feel like lines shouldn't be drawn as long as they're within the boundaries of
art.
I don't even want to say morals as much as just like, don't be an asshole, bro.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, obviously lines should be drawn about like, hey, let's take like a lynching and make it funny. That really shouldn't happen.
But the art should stand for itself in terms of the creator's vision. If that vision is them being an asshole, then they can stand by it all they want.
Yeah,
that doesn't mean they can't make it.
Yeah, they should be able to make whatever they want, and I might choose to call them assholes for it, but at the same time, I'm just, rather than make this whole controversy and write a whole bunch of shit about it, which is probably what they wanted, I'm just going to ignore it. I'm going to make one comment, and then I'm not going to go back and think about it ever again.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just one of those fucking things. So anyway. Sorry.
No, that's all right.
That for you,
Dope
but
is a great
I don't
movie.
think we're going to necessarily see too much of that discussion around this. Maybe we will. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems to be one of those movies that all those people who would be doing this are praising it.
Right.
So,
You never know. You never know. But
I mean, you'll probably see some angry white people.
Because Devin Faraci will probably say something.
No, he'll probably like that movie.
All right.
Fucking Devin Faraci. I hate that guy.
Yeah,
Devin Faraci can kiss my ass.
He's a plague. He's a plague.
He's so grumpy, and I don't have a problem with him having his own viewpoint and him saying something. Like the fucking really obnoxious thing is that deep down inside that bitter old man, there is like some intelligence.
No, yeah, because he will say things that you're like, yeah, that makes sense. But for the majority of the time, he can just drive you crazy because he's like, well, this will bring in traffic, so let me write this post.
Well, yeah, and when you name your review, guys, I don't like Jurassic World. Like, what are you trying to accomplish with that? Like, you know what I mean? And he's just like, hey, guys, I didn't like this. And then it's just like, well, no shit, because you don't like anything.
Right.
Like, that's just how you are, and that's fine if you want to be that guy. But if you're going to troll, you should at least be like Armand White.
Yeah, you should just be like, you can't even tell. Like, you can't even
tell if he's being for real.
Yeah, you don't know if he's just joking or if he actually means what he's saying.
He's crazy. Have you listened to him on? He's been on the Slash Film podcast a few times.
Armand White?
Yeah.
Oh my God, no.
Dude, you got to look up those episodes because there's like, he's going on and like talking about like, because he always does this piece at the end of the year. Instead of doing a top 10, he always does like, this movie was better than that movie. And he's always like, Grown Ups 2 is a better movie than
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Like the 12 Years a Slave or some shit.
Yeah,
Like he like attacked 12 Years a Slave. Actually, he was at that fucking the last one I think he did with Slash Film was he was talking about, remember the awards?
Yeah, that infamous thing that happened to him.
And he started yelling at what the fuck's his name? I'm like
Steve,
blank.
no,
Steve
not
McQueen.
Steve McQueen. Yeah.
Yeah, he started yelling at him and like saying horrible shit, and it was like it's fucked up because it's like there's a black guy at a table yelling at a black guy who made a movie about slavery
I
and
know.
like calling him an Uncle Tom or something like that, and
He
it's
did.
like
Did he call them?
yeah, and it's like whoa, like there's no way that Armand White isn't trolling. Like he's
No,
got to
he-
get off on this, otherwise he wouldn't continue to do it. He would just give up.
I think he's just in a position where no matter, he's always gonna have a job doing what he's doing, and he just can't. He can't be wrong. You know what I mean? Like he can't lose his job. So he
Well,
just
you
goes,
can't have a wrong opinion.
well,
Like,
no, I mean like he can't say anything that's like too nuts. That so I think he just goes with it.
that's true. I think you're right.
Like what are they gonna do? Fire Armand White? You know, like one of the, even though he says like the craziest shit, he's like one of the most respected film critics.
Somehow,
So somehow, which I don't get, him and the guy for fucking Rolling Stone.
Peter Travers.
Yeah.
I used to like his reviews though, but he
Well,
like changed.
well, Peter
Somewhere.
Travers got to like hyperbole level with everything
Well,
for
yeah.
whatever reason.
Well, he used to be like the quote guy.
yeah,
but
he
now
like
recently. It seems like he attacks everything.
yeah, he's I don't know what's going on with that guy.
He forgot how to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
He probably got sober.
Yeah, I don't know. Rolling Stone in general. I don't know what that's all about anymore.
It's irrelevant.
Yeah.
So anyway, anything else?
Nah, that's good, man. I'm good. You go.
All right. I'm gonna let you finish.
I'm gonna let you finish, but
So I watched Kingsman: Secret Service again because that movie was really fun. And I honestly like, I don't know if the version that I watched, I think it was missing the joke that everybody's been complaining about. Speaking of like political correctness,
right. So the movie ends on an anal sex joke, and
but I swear,
from what I
version
understand,
that I watched, I
that
don't know.
sucks.
Like, I don't know if they took it out because people complained, and if they did, that's stupid because you made the movie. Stand by what you did.
Right. Stand by your art.
But I don't know because I rented it, so
Okay.
I don't know if it was. And that's
But
kind of a weird thing considering all of the other shit that's in that movie to be like, okay, well, that's too far. Well, it might not work, but it wasn't necessarily too far. It wasn't
Right.
offensive. It's just dumb. It doesn't fit with the rest of the movie, but
No, it's sort of a childish joke, but you know, it's just, you know.
but I think that movie's a better send up of the Bond movies than like Austin Powers or any of those fucking movies.
Or yeah, definitely.
It's a good action movie just in general.
Yeah,
So-
it looks good. It moves well. It's got great set pieces. It's got exploding heads. It's great.
And as much as people like are ragging on it because of that joke,
Mm-hmm.
like the girl in that movie kicks some ass. Like
Yeah.
it's total. And actually, the dude is pretty respectful of her. In fact, he stands up for her when the other guys are being douchey. So that movie's got a lot of those themes that seem to be happening this year, where it's like women doing stuff.
Right.
And you know, nothing. I'm not saying that's good or bad. I mean, actually think it's pretty cool that we've had a lot of that this year.
Right.
And you know, people are taking it seriously. But it's a fucking good movie. So I think it's like $12 right now to buy it. I'm just gonna buy it actually on Blu-ray because I realized that it was like $20 before, and I was like, I'm not paying $20. But $12, totally worth it to be able to watch that and check that out. And fucking Sam Jackson is ridiculous in the movie.
With his Big Macs and his Big Macs.
Yeah, he's got this guy's Big Macs and he's like dressed up like it's the 1990s.
Yeah.
And he's got like a lisp. And he's like this evil henchman or evil like supervillain who can't look at blood.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know. Like, Matthew Vaughn is pretty awesome.
Matthew Vaughn's pretty out of his mind.
Mm-hmm. So I like that movie, and I think people should watch it. The movie I was talking about earlier that I watched last weekend that was pretty bad was The Nightmare.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's what I maybe thought it might be.
which is Rodney Asher's documentary that's about people having nightmares and night terrors and
Uh-huh.
other random shit. And obviously, he's the guy who did Room 237. And I did not like Room 237.
Neither did I.
I thought it was dumb, and I thought it didn't really have anything to say other than being like, look, here are some crazy people, and here's what they think about The Shining. And it didn't take a side, which is kind of part of the problem, because if you're having a documentary, like I hate to say it, like having a documentary that's not objective in some way kind of misses the point.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, like you need to pick a side in order to, or have a narrative, or at least have some kind of hook in there. And the only hook that they had was, look, this movie has a bunch of people that like it that are all fucked up.
Right.
And it doesn't say anything, and the stuff that they put out there is just so ridiculous.
What does the carpet mean?
Yeah, and so I didn't like that movie at all, but I was like, all right, well, I'm still looking forward to see what this dude can do. And when they started talking about night terrors and stuff, and it was right around the time that I was reading about that stuff because of Insidious.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, a little bit more up on understanding it. And I was like, all right, well, this could be good, right? Like this could be something where you're like actually interviewing people about something that's not stupid, that might even be scary.
Right.
So, all right, let's watch it, So I rented it, and I was just like, wow, he managed to find like a bunch of people that didn't have good stories to tell.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some recreations in there, and some of them are all right. But overall, and I was listening, I think it was on Slash Film podcast actually this past week. Not to give them a million plugs, but I think that they were talking about it, and someone was like equated it to, when you listen to somebody trying to tell you about their dream and they're kind of rambling on and it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Right.
And you don't really understand it because you weren't there.
Right.
And that's kind of what it feels like for an hour and a half.
Nah, man.
Is these people telling you these stories, except for he's doing a reenactment of it somewhat, but it still doesn't really work because some of them just seem like they're making stuff up.
Uh-huh.
And, there are some of them that I can relate to, but it's just not terrifying. So maybe if I suffered from these things or had those experiences, it would affect me. But I honestly think that the percentage of the population that's going to be severely affected by this documentary is going to be very
low.
Yeah. So at this point, I'm just like, this dude needs to just either make a movie or something, because he needs to stop making documentaries. Somebody stop this man.
To put a stop to it. I know Brad McArgue saw it, and when he saw it, he said it was like one of the worst things he's ever seen.
I don't think it's one of the worst, but it's not good.
Right.
Like aggressively average at best.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I don't want to slam it because it's put together okay.
Right.
And that's kind of what bothers me about his stuff, is it's fairly well constructed in some ways, but the problem is that he tends to pick subjects that I just don't want to watch.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if I don't want to listen to these people tell their stories, then you lost me. Considering that that's all your fucking movie is these people sitting there telling their stories.
I don't want to listen to you over-examine The Shining.
Yeah, or have a bunch of people trying to explain something that they don't really remember.
Right.
Because that's what it comes down to. So I would say pass on it. Don't fucking watch it, but wait till it comes to Netflix or something.
Mm-hmm.
For certain, don't pay like $8 like I did to rent it. Because like I could have used that $8 to rent something else.
Right.
So I also watched a movie called Search Party that just recently came out, which is just a stupid comedy movie that's got oddly enough, because I've been watching Silicon Valley too, but it's got like two of the guys from that show in it. And I think it was supposed to actually come out in the movie theater last year, but it got shelved for a while, and I think it was probably because something happened and they were like, I don't know if we're gonna make any money with this, so let's just wait. And came out eventually, but it's got TJ Miller in it, and I don't remember this dude's name, but he's the dude who plays the main guy in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
The really super nerdy guy.
Right.
Who like invented the algorithm or whatever. And basically it's that dude is about to get married to this girl, and he's out smoking pot in a van with his buddies, and they're like, yo, you don't really want to marry her, right? Like, she's kind of a bitch. And then he's like all high, and he's like, yeah, man, fuck that. And so they're all about to get married, and TJ Miller is basically TJ Miller, and gets up and he's like, oh, he doesn't want to marry you. He told me when we were smoking weed in the van, and fucks everything up. So she runs away and goes off to like the resort where they were supposed to have their honeymoon. And this dude is like, yo, I'm going to go and get her back. So he goes down to Mexico by himself, and ridiculous shit happens. And he ends up with no clothes or no car, and has to call his buddies who got him into trouble in the first place to come and get him. And of course, ridiculous shit happens, and it's all right. It's not great, but it's kind of funny, and it was worth watching just because it's got
TJ Miller.
Well, Allison Brie is in it. I like me some Allison Brie.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, like, on my list, you know, there's
a list. The
Google. The Kendrick is at the top, right? So the Kendrick is
in the Google Doc that we currently have running.
Is my thing, right? So like Anna Kendrick will always have a special place in my heart, but Allison Brie is not too far behind. I will watch anything that Allison Brie is in.
Sure.
Pretty much. And I've definitely have watched stuff only because she's in it. Same thing with, you know, like Rose Byrne.
Right.
Like we had that conversation. But Allison Brie is in there, and you know, I mean, TJ Miller's all right too. I've liked him for a while, and he's certainly he plays the same character. Good idiot. Like,
yeah,
I think it took him a little while to find that spot, but now he always plays the douche with the fucking, like, he's just the guy who's basically should still be living in his mom's basement.
Right. He looks like he does.
Pretty much, but he's pretty great on Silicon Valley, and I mean, I might as well talk about that for a minute, but that's just wrapped up the second season, and I'm not quite caught up yet. I've been watching, and I'm about 3 or 4 episodes. I'm about almost halfway through the second season, and that show just gets better and better. So if you're not watching it,
season 2.
Yeah, if you're not watching it, you should be watching it, because if you have HBO, fucking watch it, because it's awesome. And then watch True Detective season 2, which starts in 2 days.
So yeah,
it's gonna be.
Although
awesome.
I heard wasn't the early press not great.
I haven't read anything about it. I'm just gonna watch it, see what happens. So I mean, after that first season, though, like, everybody's gonna fucking slag on it just because that's gonna be the cool thing to do. So
yeah,
like we were talking about, because the first one was so good that everyone's just angry and jealous.
Everyone's just already mad, bro.
You mad, bro?
You mad, bro?
And I also watched Monster House with my kid.
Yeah.
Again, which is, that movie's still really fun. I love it. Usually we watch it around Halloween, but for some reason he wanted to watch it, and so I was like, it's cool. We'll watch it. And then I saw something that, speaking of stupid shit, that's, you know, when we were talking about like PC and like nothing should be off limits.
Right.
So I watched Get Hard.
Oh man.
Kevin Hart and Will Ferrell.
Oh Jesus Christ.
And it basically takes what is like a fairly average comedy movie and then knocks it down several points.
Basically throws a script at it that's like paper thin.
Well, not even necessarily, like, that's not even the problem. The problem is the amount of anal sex jokes.
No, yeah, I think I talked about it on this podcast. Like, it's just Gay Panic the movie. It's just like somebody was really, really afraid that they might like the taste of dicks. Like,
yeah,
that's what that movie was.
And it's like, you could totally lose most of that. The dude's motivation for not going to prison shouldn't be that he's afraid to get raped. The dude's
Right.
motivation for not wanting to go to prison should be that he doesn't want to get like killed or stabbed or have the shit kicked out of him. This dude
Right.
doesn't even care that he might get murdered. He's more worried that he might have to suck a dick.
Right. Which is,
You know, it
And-
might happen, but
and you know, for me, I think the problem I had with that movie is that there was a line that was being crossed where it was equating like homosexuality with rape, like kind of thing. Like
Mhm.
the 1 and 2 are the same, which is a very terrible distinction to make. That in order to go to jail, you're gay. You know what I mean? Like you have to become gay, and therefore gay is tagged along with criminality and all this other stuff. And to the point where the movie takes the characters to not a gay bar, but a gay hangout, and it's like, we're gonna go here and we're gonna learn what it's like to be in prison. And it's like, this is just very lazy. This is just
you're
very,
talking about the weird like blowjob scene
yeah,
with
Yeah.
that dude, that mustache guy who's in like all the movies.
yeah, he's in
And
everything.
he's got the dick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that's just you yeah,
and it's like that, even that itself wouldn't be terrible if it wasn't for the rest of it. Because like literally, I think if you were to like edit all that stuff together, it probably makes up like a good 20 to 30 minutes of the movie,
right,
which is a problem when your movie's only like an hour and 40 minutes long. A third of your movie shouldn't be gay jokes.
right.
Because at some point they're just not funny anymore. And
No, they're definitely not funny. And it's a shame because in that movie, there's actually some moments that are kind of funny.
yeah, I mean, there's some stuff in it that works, and that's why I say it takes like what would be an average movie, and just because it's just so hard to watch because they just keep, and again, it's not me necessarily saying that, oh hey, like they crossed the line, because I don't think that they did in some ways, and they're definitely allowed to make those jokes, but I just think that they detract from what could have been kind of enjoyable. I mean, Will Ferrell does his Will Ferrell thing for at least half of the movie, and I don't like when Will Ferrell does that.
Right, where he's just yelling and
Where he's just doing that, or he's just like, so Will Ferrell is kind of good when he's just a bit part in somebody else's movie,
mm-hmm.
you know, or when he shows up on like Eastbound and Down,
Right.
and he's
Right.
like the car salesman.
He's a
Like,
car
that
salesman.
works.
Right.
That works. But here, not so much. And I like Kevin Hart for the most part.
Mhm.
I don't necessarily like his stand-up all that much, but I think when he shows up in a movie, he's usually pretty entertaining, and he does some funny stuff, and you know, there's some points that are made in the movie, which is really funny because it's all like, yo, white people shouldn't make fun of black people or
Right.
be afraid of them, but yes, it's okay to be afraid of gay people.
Yeah, there's a problem with the writing of that movie where it's making it just comes off like somebody is just afraid that they might be gay, and
Mhm.
it does it in a way that makes it very distasteful and nasty, and it doesn't make it funny. You're not saying anything about you know either gay culture. You're not saying anything about jail culture. It just comes off very
Right.
inappropriate. Like
Well,
it's just yeah.
And a good way to look at that is if you look at the Kids in the Hall movie,
Sure.
something like that, like Brain Candy. From
Mhm.
back in the day, there's tons of gay jokes in there, and tons of like gay stuff that's like, you know, played for laughs because somebody's gay, and you know, like army dudes like making guys do push-ups and talking about big hard muscles and stuff.
Mhm.
But that's funny
Right.
because it's not hateful, and like you know what I mean? It's not
Mhm.
it's the way that it's done. And again, it's also because they don't fucking harp on it to the point where it's like the entire like plot of this movie is this dude not wanting to suck a dick.
Yeah, and it's
Basically.
like first of all, there's nothing wrong with doing that.
Well,
know what I-
and I'm not saying that there is something wrong with it. Not that
Yeah.
there's anything wrong with that, but you know, like okay, whatever. But I can see why, you know, people like myself, and I'm
Yeah,
assuming you
Yeah.
don't want to. And you know, if someone was like, hey, I'm gonna put this dick in your face, I would probably be a little bit like, dude, bruh,
Yeah,
I don't
bruh.
need that.
Nah,
But you know,
nah,
but at the same
son.
time, to each their own. As long as you're not doing it, and I'm sitting here having to watch it, then I don't give a
Right.
shit. You know, go do what you want in the privacy of your own house. You know, but this movie just like takes it to the extremes of just like basically playing it up like it's the most horrible fucking thing that could ever happen to somebody. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that there's worse things out there.
Yeah, you could get.
And if the
shit-
worst thing that's going to happen to you in prison is you're going to have to suck a dick, it's probably
You're
could
alright.
be worse.
Yeah,
It probably could be worse.
you could get shanked and bleed out in somewhere, and
Yeah, and there's some, and it's not even just that, but it's like there's some really horrible like racial humor with the Mexicans and shit,
yeah, like
and the Latinos.
It was such a weird kind of at times mean movie. It was just I don't know.
Which is weird because it's all like, again, like I said, part of the point of the movie is to be like, yo, you shouldn't be racist,
Right.
but it's racist. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, and they never once in the movie come back and he never realizes that, oh, hey, maybe I should have been nicer to the Latinos. It's
Right.
only the black people that he and
Right.
part of the, and I'm not gonna lie, like part of the, one of the funniest things that's in the fucking movie is when Will Ferrell is finally like accepted by the black community.
Yeah.
Like that's probably the funniest thing in the movie. And if the movie was just like
With
that,
T.I.
yeah, and if the movie was just that,
Uh-huh.
it might have actually been pretty good.
Well,
You
if
know,
the-
minus all the gay stuff and whatnot.
if the movie actually were to make a comment about sort of the divide between, you know, race and like economic like issues, then it actually like might have been, you know, something that was worthwhile and topical. But like it seemed like they were going to do that and they just totally dumped that
I mean,
idea.
It tries to, but then it just injects a whole lot of fucking gay rape jokes.
Right.
Like a whole, like a lot. Like I can't
It's
even explain. Like I thought it would just, because I heard people talk about it, and I was like, oh, maybe they just make a couple of those jokes. And I was like, oh my God, they just don't back off.
It doesn't stop.
It just keeps going. But like the shit where he's like hanging out with the Crenshaw Kings.
Yeah.
And he's teaching them how to, like, because they're like, how are you going to give me money? How are you going to pay us to protect you on the inside? And so he teaches them how to do the stock market.
Yeah, the inside trade.
And then they're fucking like hanging out on the porch.
And they're talking.
And they've got the flat screen out on the porch. And they're just fucking talking about stock markets. And they start getting into argument because the one dude wants to fucking use the strip club as his office. And like,
Yeah.
and then Will Ferrell gets in the middle of them and he's wearing a fucking like lumberjack, fucking, you know, the black and white lumberjack.
Right, he's like,
with the fucking glasses, drinking King Cobra 40s,
Yeah.
and having girls twerk in his face. Like that shit is hilarious.
Right, exactly.
Hilarious. And it's so bad because I think I gave it like a 3 out of 10. But there's some parts of it that are just so fucking funny. And it's just like, God damn, couldn't they just have like stuck with that? Because that was not, it wasn't mean, it wasn't offensive, and it wasn't too much. And I, you know, again, like I say, I hate to say too much, but that humor worked.
Right.
All the other gay shit, especially considering the fact that there's no counterbalance to it, which is I think what the problem is.
Right.
Because you don't have any actual gay characters except for this one dude who just shows up that Kevin Hart ends up Skyping with.
Right. And it's like
kind of funny, but like in order for the gay stuff to work, they would, like, if Kevin Hart was a gay black dude, that might have worked.
Right.
If they had done it the right way. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But they don't have that character to balance that out. Just like it's a problem that they have all the Latinos and they make the jokes at the Latinos' expense, but at the end of the day, nothing
they don't have
ever
a
comes of
say.
it.
Yeah, they don't have no say in that.
Yeah, other than the fact that the Latinos are like, yes, finally we get to fuck with the white guy.
Right.
When they're doing like the prison riots and shit, and they like send the homeless people in to lick his face. Like, again, there's some funny shit in the movie. But then when you like really think about it, like there was parts where I felt uncomfortable in a bad way.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just felt like I was fucking watching like KKK the movie or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's not the good kind of uncomfortable. It's not the kind of uncomfortable that's funny. It's the kind of uncomfortable. It's like, oh, it's kind of embarrassing.
And
You know?
T.I.'s in it.
The T.I.'s all right in the movie
Yeah.
though. Like I said, I think that's the part that works. Because he knows what he's in. Like, he knows the movie he's in. He knows the part he's playing. All those dudes do.
Crenshaw Kings.
You know what I mean? And they don't make any of those gay jokes.
Right, no.
Like, that's the part where that stops. Because all they're doing is making the jokes about white people.
And he's like, I was going to kill somebody. At the end. When he's going to go on to the initiation.
Yeah. That's what I was saying, man, when he's just doing all that shit and that chick is like twerking in his face. I forgot what her name was, but it was some ridiculous fucking name. I think it was like LaShawanda or something. And he said it all crazy.
I was gonna kill somebody.
Oh, then later on he's like, oh wait, I got this gun. But yeah, I don't know. It's tough because I really want to tell people not to ever watch it. But at the same time, like, there are some things in it that are fucking hilarious. But at the same time, I think it's terrible.
That premiered at South by Southwest. I still don't know how that happened.
It's really weird. Like, it's a fucking bizarre movie. And again, I think if it wasn't for all that shit, it would be a pretty decent movie. Like, it probably would have been up several points.
Right.
Like, something that I would recommend to people.
Mm-hmm.
But they had to go fuck it up, Jesse.
They did, as they always do.
And I'm almost done here, but I just recently, yesterday, watched this movie While We're Young, which is the newest Noah Baumbach movie.
Oh, right. Yeah, I saw that. I totally blanked on the... Yeah.
Yeah, so it's because the name isn't very good.
No.
And
Naomi Watts and Ben Stiller.
Yep. Naomi Watts and Ben Stiller.
Adam Driver.
That couple, and they start hanging out with Amanda Seyfried and Adam Driver. And there's like two documentarians, and basically it's like a couple having a kind of a midlife crisis because all their friends are having babies. So they start hanging out with a younger couple and then realize that millennials are terrible. I take it you didn't like it at all?
I didn't like it at all.
I thought it was all right, but it's got its moments, but where it ends up going is kind of not like, it really just comes out to be like, get off my lawn.
Kinda, but it also comes off as like, we don't really have any real issues in life. Our biggest problem is that our friends are having kids, but that's like somehow like the worst thing to ever happen to us.
Again,
And
man, white people.
I know, and it's just like white problems. The movie, like I couldn't connect with anybody in that movie. I just thought they were all terrible. And
well, you also don't have kids.
That's true.
So watching it, I think you might be in the weird spot where you're kind of in the middle, or maybe too close to the younger people. That it's kind of, this movie is definitely more for, I think, people that are around my age or older. Right. I would say. I would think that like you could relate to it more if you already have kids, because there's some stuff that's said by some of the people that have kids that is fairly kind of true. Like, there's the one part where Ben Stiller, after he gets into it with the other characters, and he goes back and ends up sleeping over at his buddy's house who has the kid. Right. And that dude is basically like, well, it's almost like this thing, like, you're so excited when the wife is pregnant, and you're like, oh, this is going to be the best thing ever. And all the people are telling you it's the best thing that'll ever happen to you. And then you have the baby, and then suddenly all those same people are like, oh, it gets better. And it's like, wait, you told me that this was the best thing ever.
Right.
And now you're acting like, oh, my condolences to you because now you have a baby. And he's like, well, here's the thing. Like, I love my kid, but I'm still kind of like number one to myself. And it's like, you can kind of relate to that. Right. You know what I mean? I mean, it sounds harsh taken out of context, but it's difficult, right? Because sometimes it's like, you know, like, I love my kid, but at the same time, like, Jesus fuck, there are times that I just want to be left alone.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I can kind of relate to some of it, so I could see where maybe you might have a little bit more trouble identifying with it. I think if you were to watch it in like 10 years.
I do think I made that distinction after I saw it on Twitter or something, where I feel like I'm too old and too young for this movie at the same time.
You're an old soul trapped in a millennial's body.
Yeah, so I didn't think it. I don't know. The whole like white people who have jobs but don't really have jobs yet they have like a lot of money situations. I don't know. Goes on with that.
Yeah, that part I didn't understand.
I don't like. It's a huge trope that you'll see in those types of movies where they don't actually do anything, but yet they have a lot of money.
What,
and they don't,
like the Paranormal Activity movies?
Yeah, like they
guy
don't.
Who runs he's like a manager of a Burger King, and he lives in fucking California and has $1 million house.
Right, exactly. Like but with the bomb back stuff is that it's like, well, we have these huge problems that are like destroying our we're having like existential crisis, and it's like your struggle isn't that unique or extreme. You don't really have anything to say. You're just sort of existing in a very comfy sphere where you take hip hop classes.
That part was funny. I was gonna say the best part of that movie is just the fact that there's a montage that's set to Hit 'Em Up.
Yeah,
by Tupac.
With Naomi Watts.
Yeah, well, they have the hip hop dancing, and then it like kicks off from there into just a montage of them trying to do shit that they're way too old to be doing.
Right.
And it's kind of hilarious because it's just playing like Hit 'Em Up, which is one of the most fucking thugged out songs ever. Because it's just Tupac like straight up talking about murdering specific people.
Yep.
And fucking their wives.
Good song.
Oh, it's a great fucking song. I love that song, but it's just hilarious in that aspect. So I mean, but other than that, it's a fairly average movie. And I think what you were saying though about like the Bombeck tropes and like what he does in his movies, it works in Francis Ha.
Well, yeah, because they're younger people. They're kind of figuring life out, and
well, the part of the point of Francis Ha is her realizing that she's just fucking has no real actual problems, and she's just kind of wasting everything. But in this movie, they don't necessarily ever really kind of come to that conclusion, other than maybe I should have just not dragged my feet.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's I don't know. I've heard a lot of people say a lot of really good things about it, but
that's because all the film critics live in Brooklyn. They don't want to run into Noah Baumbach at the coffee shop, so they have to say nice things about it.
There's that, and it's like it's totally a hipster movie in a lot of ways.
In definitely a lot of ways. Like it's a hipster movie in that the things that you would think were parodies and you would joke at are like things that are like writing on typewriters is like a total real thing that those characters do, and it's not considered weird. It's just sort of like a thing they do, and it's like the new normal, and you're just like, no.
Like where Ben Stiller's getting angry because that dude is talking about Cookie-O-Puss.
Yeah, and like everything Adam
that was my childhood. You're stupid. It's ironic. Like,
yeah,
shut the fuck up.
Like everything Adam Driver said and did when they're in their apartment was driving me up the wall. I'm like, this can't be like real dialogue that they decided to write. Like, this is not seen as a joke. This is real things they do. I don't know.
Well, he's like, oh, your record collection's like mine, except mine is CDs.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, come on. Like that. It's just,
yeah, there's a,
it's kind of groan inducing, but
I was groaning in the theater audibly. I was like the only person to see watching it when I saw it.
Oh man. So anyway, it's a movie. If you like his other stuff, you'll probably find something to enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff to enjoy about it. Like, he's not a bad like filmmaker. I don't think the content was that great, but
he's just weird.
He is weird.
Like, he seems like he is like envious of some of the people that he makes fun of.
Kinda. Like he has some sort of burning jealousy or something.
Yeah, like I feel like this is just him being like, yo, I wish I was younger so that I could do these things and you know what I mean?
Right.
Not be ridiculous. So anyway, that's a movie. And then lastly, yesterday I saw Inside Out, which is the new Disney Pixar movie, and it's really good. It's not. I've heard a lot of people being like, it's a fucking masterpiece, and it's like one of the best animated movies ever. And I'm like, I kind of see where they're coming from, but I don't agree. So I don't think it's anything. I don't think it's the best thing. I think there's definitely at least probably like 4 or 5 other Pixar movies that I like more than it. But I will say that in a lot of ways, this movie, like, so originally I was going to go see it, and then I was going to decide whether I was going to take my kid to see it this weekend. And then I quickly decided that I'm not taking him to see it because he's not going to enjoy any of it, because it's not your typical animated Pixar movie.
Right.
It's got some of those moments in it, but this movie is almost more aimed at adults. Like, so usually they have shit where there's a story and we can relate to it as adults in some way and get something out of it. This movie is just straight up about feelings.
Oh my God.
And that's like the whole point of it, right? Because the whole thing is, it's like there's these little things inside the people's heads that are the different emotions and how they interact with the person. And it's all about this girl who's grown up with her parents, and something happens and she kind of hits that stage where it's basically about moving to a new place and not knowing anybody and all of the emotions that you have and being sad.
Right.
And how that interacts with the stress going on with your parents who are trying to do is, and you know what I mean? And as an adult and as somebody who has kids, I teared up during a couple parts in the movie, because there's a couple parts that are just straight up super sad, and there's a lot of stuff that's really deep that's going on in this movie, and it's really good. But I think my kid will be bored as fuck during this movie. You know what I mean? Like, there's not enough of that goofy. There is some goofy shit with an imaginary friend and where that kind of stuff happens, and some slapsticky type stuff, but it's very few and far between. This movie's way more serious than it is child wonderish.
Right.
And there's not a lot of fun action-y type set pieces. And if there's one thing I can tell you, especially after taking my kid to see Jurassic World last weekend, like, he loves the shit where stuff is happening, but then when it's just people talking, he has no interest in it. And this movie has a lot of just people talking.
Right.
For what is supposed to be an animated kids movie. And that's not a bad thing, because there's definitely like animation that's aimed at adults, but would you take your kid to see The Wind Rises?
No way.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm coming from, is it's like, would you take your kid to some of these other, like, fucking Miyazaki movies and shit? Like, probably not, because they're not going to enjoy it.
They're not going to understand it either.
Exactly. And that's what I mean. And like, my kid's not going to understand the themes that are going on in this. And sometimes they can sneak it in and it's not a problem, because there's some deeper themes. But then at the top of the day, there's still just like shit falling on people's heads and people falling over and goofiness. And this movie is missing a lot of that. So I can see why critics really like it. But I don't think it's going to hit with that family market as well. I think some families are going to take their kids to see it, and I don't think it's going to work for the kids as much as it is for the adults, which is going to be weird. And I also don't think it's going to be this big fucking thing, because Jurassic World is still just fucking dominating everything.
All the money.
And I think it's going to do... honestly, I think there's a very good chance that Jurassic World is still going to be #1 this weekend.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And, quite frankly, it's probably more deserved to be #1 than Inside Out in some ways, because I think it's a much more entertaining movie on that level. Inside Out is definitely a go see it movie.
Right.
Do I think you need to rush out to the theater? Maybe, maybe not. I would almost be just as comfortable being like, just when it comes out on video, just buy it, watch it. But certainly if you're planning a family night, I don't know if your kids are going to get into it unless they're like older. And
right.
If they're older, then they're just probably going to not pretend. They're gonna probably pretend that they don't relate to it
Mm-hmm.
because they don't want to admit that they have feelings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
That-
there's a lot of that shit in here. So it's good. It's good, and you know, I think you'll enjoy it, Jesse. Probably.
Yeah, I'll probably really like it. I'm gonna see it next week sometime when I'm homeless.
But it's just weird because, well, that's where you got the theater, right? Theaters are for
Yeah.
homeless people.
That's right. I can sleep in the row.
Yep. That's what they do. Actually, that's what they used to do in a lot of places during the winter and shit.
Yeah.
Just go buy tickets for movies and then just sleep in the theater because it's heated.
Mm-hmm.
And you can go there for a few hours and sleep and nobody's going to bother you.
Right.
So, anyhow, that's Inside Out and it's out now. So, with that being said, we're going to take a quick break here and then we're going to come back. We will review Jurassic World and then we'll call it a night. So, don't go anywhere. Guard your asshole because, you know, anal sex jokes.
All day.
Will Ferrell.
Gay panic.
And yeah, we'll be back in a minute. Maybe.
About to drop the bomb, I'm the motherfucking Don. Big fish in a small pond. Not a fish trying to throw they book at the crook, but I shook they worm and they hook. Guppies hold they breath. They wanna miss me when I'm tipsy. Running everything west of the Mississippi. It's the unseen, pulling strings with my pinky ring. We got the woman pucker up, but we fuck her up. Bow down before I make a phone call. Got 25 niggas running up on y'all, but a cheese. We want them keys. Everybody freeze on your knees, butt naked please. Before any of you guppies get caught, nigga, rewind my part, fool, and bow down when I come to your town. Bow down when I'm Westwood Bound. Bow down, cause I ain't a hater like you. Bow down to a nigga that's greater than you. I take 10 steps and I draw. Now who's this in the mad ass Inglewood edition? I bust like a pimple, my mind is still mental. The west side connects with me in South Central. When the drag from the zigzag can't fuck with the Phillies, holding down the Wild West like the kid they call Billy. Once again, it's Mac 10, the gold crown holder, strong as a Coca-Cola with a chrome pistola. Now who wanna fuss so I can bust when I cuss? My look bring you feel a year from the surplus. Since a teen, I chase the green, the crack scene kings, Lolos, corniches, and baguettes on my pieces. So recognize these real G's. Chase the cheese, the West Side Connect. Keep it rolling like gold D's. Three wheeling and dealing, it's like a California style. But in the meanwhile, in my town, you got the bag. When you come to my town, when I'm Westwood Bound. Because I ain't a hater like you. Bow down to a nigga that's greater than you. Well, it's that Chuck wearing, still sporting a beanie. The shadiest nigga when a click, who wanna see me gas? I slide my notes on, let my khaki sing. West side, connect gang, bing, bing, bang. Run away, go get your punk ass slayed by this H, double O to the D to the STK. Fuck harder than I'm gang related, simple and plain, which means I can give a fuck about you niggas in this rap game. Flashy niggas get stuck up, beat the fuck up. When you come around, keep your chain tucked from this 00 apostrophe, yes shit. Fuck a studio lyricist, I'm real with this. Talk the talk, walk the walk. Diss me on wax, I'm trying to saw your whole fucking head off. Yeah, I'm platinum bound, so bitch shut up. And nigga, all y'all can kiss my Converse like show now. When I come to your town, when I'm Westwood Bound. Cause I ain't a hater like you. Bow down to a nigga that's greater than you. Bow down when you come to our town. Bow down when we Westwood Bound. Bow down cause we ain't no haters like you. Bow down to some niggas that's greater than you. Yeah, tell you something. Gangsters make the world go round. So you ain't got the clown. But if you live on the west side of your town, make them other fools bow down. West Side Connection. The world belongs to us. Bow down. Bow down. Bow down. Bow down. When you come to our town. Bow down. When we Westwood Bound. Bow down. Cause we ain't no haters like you. Bow down to some niggas that's greater than you.
We're gonna have so much fun. And remember, if something chases you, run.
We have learned more in the past decade from genetics than a century of digging up bones. A whole new frontier has opened up. We have our first genetically modified hybrid.
You just went and made a new dinosaur?
Probably not a good idea. Almost 40 feet high. Really think she climbed out?
Depends.
On what?
What kind of dinosaur they cooked up in that lab? Evacuate the island. She's a highly intelligent animal. She will kill anything that moves.
Oh, God.
Those dinosaurs, though. Those dinosaurs, though.
They're coming for you.
For real. If something chases you, run, Jesse.
As you do.
So what that was the trailer for Jurassic World, which I'm sure you know what it is, so I'm not really going to bother talking about that, but it was directed and co-written by Colin Trevorrow, I think is how you say his name, or Trevorrow, I don't know, one of those. But basically, dude who did Safety Not Guaranteed, which is kind of an interesting thing because you go from that movie being, I think, his only other actual like feature credit to this.
Yeah, and he was like the fourth choice, right?
Right. And okay, so like I said, we're going to have this discussion, but one of the things that I think needs to be taken into consideration is that this movie has basically been in production for like the last 15 years. I mean, if you go through and watch the Jurassic Park box set that came out several years ago, the Blu-ray set, I think on the third one, and I think even on the DVD at one point, there was like some stuff where they were talking about ideas for the fourth movie, and it was supposed to be about like genetically engineered dinosaurs that were going to be fighting or something, some shit. And it sounded like a terrible idea. And, essentially this movie kind of takes that idea and then puts some other stuff in with it. And, we'll talk about whether or not we think it works. But, the basic conceit of the movie is all the shit that happened in Jurassic Park happened. It was bad. But for whatever reason, John Hammond still had money and was able to work on some stuff and then sell it to this other Indian dude who was some kind of mogul who made a bunch of money in telecom and something else. I think oil, they said. Telecom and oil. And they opened Jurassic World because I don't know if this movie is completely ignoring the stuff that happened in parts 2 and 3. But I think it probably is. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. And we can talk about why in a little bit, but basically this park is open and Bryce Dallas Howard plays this, I don't know if she's like a tour guide or if she's just like a corporate salesperson.
I think she's like she's like the corporate end of it where she's managing,
like she
people.
Shows the corporate sponsors around and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so she does something. It's never really
some
made
sort of
100% clear.
Soul-sucking job, probably.
Yeah, pretty much. It is never really made 100% clear what that job is, which is, I think, what some people's problem is. But anyway, her nephews come in to visit the park, and then some shit goes bad because somebody's trying to fuck around with some stuff, and there's a genetically engineered dinosaur, and along the way you get a whole bunch of like crazy, ridiculous action sequences and monsters and dinosaurs and people getting eaten, and pretty much everything you'd expect from Jurassic Park 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the main question here is, Jesse, how did you feel about this movie going into it? What were your expectations? Did you have any expectations? And then did the movie deliver on your expectations or not?
Yeah, like I thought when I first saw the trailer, I more or less thought like, well, they're, in my opinion, the sequels to the original film are not great. Like good moments. Third one's okay. But they're not like anything like the first one was. And when I saw this, I was like, it's probably gonna be along those lines. And I didn't have the sort of reaction that everyone else had, where they're like super excited for it. But I was like anticipating it, because a movie with giant dinosaurs in it on this level in theaters is kind of an event, and so I was excited for that. And plus, like the nostalgic part of me, is still, goes on fire when I hear the music and hear the dinosaurs and all that stuff. So, but I wasn't like out of control excited to see it.
Okay. So how did it play for you?
It ended up playing more or less what I thought it would end up playing, where I had a really good time. I didn't necessarily think that the sort of characterizations or the necessary like story stuff was memorable or good, but I was laughing, and I liked the beat to beat moments, enough that I had a good time. Like, sort of like, I put it in comparison, if we're gonna do something like Transformers, like if we're gonna have this huge, you're gonna make a huge movie that is made to be basically like a popcorn movie, supposed to be kind of dumb, whatever. Like Jurassic Park does it well because it keeps it interesting and fun throughout the whole thing, unlike Transformers, where it's like overly long, overly long, and kind of gets bogged down with this self-seriousness. I had fun with Jurassic World. I didn't love it, but I thought it delivered to me the movie that I actually ended up really wanting it to be. I didn't want it to try to be as I didn't want it for it to try too hard, and I didn't want it to downplay everything. It kind of met that nice middle area for me, which, I'm not gonna love that middle area, but it's for the movie they're trying to make, it's perfect. I don't think that the series will ever get to the point like the first one, which still, when I watch it, it has this real magic and captures me with this real awe when I see everything at work, and the characters are memorable, and the story, like the Crichton science of it is, out there, but it's kind of plausible. And I really dig that. And they've kind of moved away from that to the point where it's like just big dinosaurs, and people are like, they have to get something that the dinosaurs are around, or they have to get out from wherever the dinosaurs are. And that's sort of the what it's been boiled down to, and that's fine. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun, but I certainly didn't love it.
Okay, that's fair enough. And I think for me, I really like this movie, and so I guess just a little bit of going back to what you were talking about. I think I understand what you're saying about the first film, and I think part of the way that this movie is going to play to you depends on your age, for sure,
Mm-hmm.
and it depends on your memories of the first movie. And I think the reason that this movie is doing so well is not because it's a an amazing movie or anything like that, or not even necessarily because the Jurassic Park franchise is this fucking behemoth or something, because let's face it, I mean, the first movie when it came out was the #1 movie of all time for a while. It made a lot of money, and actually if you adjust it for inflation, I think that the domestic gross on it was somewhere around like 700 million.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's quite a large number of money that it would be worth at this point in time once you adjust the receipts for ticket prices today. And you know, I remember going to see that. I went to an advanced screening that was like, I think it was 2 nights before. And this was back when they weren't doing like Thursday shows. They didn't do midnight shows. You know what I mean? But this movie, they used to occasionally do like a couple days early to try to get word of mouth going for the weekend. And I remember going to a packed theater, and this is back when they didn't really have like multiplexes as much. I mean, they did and they didn't, but they would only be showing like maybe like 4 movies or something.
Yeah, the corporate theater thing wasn't a huge thing yet.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was still. So this was the Lowe's that I went to, which is a chain that's, I don't even know if it's around anymore.
Well, it's
certainly not
AMC,
around.
Lowe's.
Okay.
Sorta, yeah.
So this was Lowe's, and it was out kind of in this one area out here, and they had one theater that had like 3 screens inside, and then out at the back there was a whole separate building that was quote unquote the large theater, and that's where they would show whatever the big movie was because it fit more people, and it was like its own building that was just one screen, and that's where they showed Jurassic Park. And I remember going to see it, and just like, I think I was 13 at the time, and I just remember being completely blown away. And that was the first time I had ever seen a movie where I had read the book beforehand. And I was like, wow, this movie sticks really close to the book, minus like a couple of things. You know what I mean? But it sticks really close to the book, and it just works really well. And it's fucking Steven Spielberg. And even at 13 years old, I knew Steven Spielberg was a fucking genius. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, so I just had an affinity where I was just like, I think I saw that movie more times almost than any other movie in the movie theater, and was just absolutely enamored with it. And I loved it, and I still love it, and it still plays for me that way. And I still feel that nostalgia. And for me, part of the draw here was the fact that I'm now 35 years old, and I have a 4-year-old, and I was just kind of super excited to take him. Right. So I've seen this movie twice already. And the way that it worked was I went to see it Thursday night. I saw it in IMAX 3D. And I was kind of gauging whether or not it was going to be something that I could take him to, because I know the first one is fairly intense movie, right? And you're talking about dinosaurs. Like, yeah, and they don't fuck around. And I actually remember going to see it when I saw that first one on opening night. Some fucking asshole brought their little children, like younger than my son. And during that T-Rex attack on the Jeeps,
right,
those kids were screaming and crying, and they had to end up taking them out of the theater. But they were screaming to the point where it's like, why would you bring your fucking kid to this movie? Like, you know what I mean? And this was me as a 13-year-old saying that.
Right.
So you can imagine. And I still know people that say that when they show that to their kids, they're traumatized. My kid's seen the first one, and he was all right with it. So I was like, all right, I think he'll be all right, but I want to make sure before I take him to the movie that there's not anything that's going to like scare the shit out. Because he's weird, because, you know, kids are strange. He can watch like a dinosaur eating people, no problems. But then he'll see like the ghost at the beginning of fucking Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, and he'll be traumatized.
He like shits his fucking pants and can't handle it. And I don't understand it, but whatever.
I saw Jurassic Park when I was 6, and it scared me.
Yeah.
Like that part scared me. I liked it, and I liked that it scared me, but it did really like.
Did you watch it at home?
I watched it. Yeah, I watched it in a home. I watched it at my relative's house, and it scared the poop out of me, but I loved it.
Yeah. So I mean, to you, like Jurassic Park is probably like Jaws was to me when I was a kid. Where it was like just like when were you born? What year?
88.
Okay, so like you were So it's kind of like the same. I mean, you were old enough when Jurassic Park came out, but you were probably too young to go see it.
Yeah.
It was definitely not a kids movie, although it's funny because we associate it as like a family type movie.
And it's a dino slasher movie. It's
Yeah, in a lot of ways it is, and it's a people are terrible, and this is what you're gonna do to yourselves.
Right.
Movie, and
God is dead.
God is dead, and no one cares. But yeah, so it's one of those things where I think that was part of the draw for me, was like, all right, like I don't know what I'm expecting. Like, it's been a diminishing return series in my opinion, because the first one was fucking great, and I remember being so excited to go see The Lost World when it came out. And I had read the book and everything, and then I remember going to see The Lost World, and I'm like, hey, like this is nothing. Like, most of the book is gone, except for a couple things, and then they took some stuff from the first book that they cut out and stuck it in, and then all of a sudden they turned it into King Kong with dinosaur and even T-Rex.
Even Crichton was not very pleased with that.
Yeah, well, I mean, basically Steven Spielberg had said that he wasn't interested in making a sequel unless he could just have a Tyrannosaurus Rex in the middle of San Diego
and eat the dog.
And the fucked up thing is like that's the best part of the movie, even though it's like completely stupid.
Right.
It's like I would have watched that for an entire movie, and quite frankly, I almost feel like that's what this movie is.
Kind of, yeah.
Except it's the whole movie, and you know, then the third movie, I think, was better than the second one in some ways, but it's got a lot of problems. And if you follow Brian Collins on Twitter at all, he's been kind of pointing it out for like the last week that like Jurassic Park 3 has no ending really.
No, and there's a couple of weird fuck yous to fans of like the movies, like the fact that like Laura Dern and him are not married, and it's just
the weird like the
phone call thing.
Yeah.
Because like at the end of Jurassic Park, you think like oh well, like they're together and it's like they're looking at the birds and it's this really beautiful moment, and then by Lost World, like they're not in the picture, you got Malcolm and whatever, and then by the third one it's like oh well, everything is falling apart and Sam Neill is fucking going back to Costa Rica.
Raptor gymnastics, Jesse.
Yeah. Engine is bad and blah blah blah.
So anyway, the third one is kind of like meh. So honestly, I was just like, all right, give me whatever you got. Fuck it. And I remember hearing about the genetically engineered stuff over the years that, you know, I was talking about. And I was like, well, if they're going to actually put this in this fucking movie, I don't know how much I care to see it. But I was like, fuck it. I always go to the movies on like Thursday night or whatever, you know, for movies that are coming out. I try to anyway every week and just see something. But, you know, I mean, I go to the movies like 2 to 3 times a week, honestly. I see a lot of movies in the theater, and some of them are good, some of them are bad, but I see shit that I don't even want to see sometimes. Like,
right,
I'm like, that movie looks like crap, but I'm going to go watch it. And people are like, why do you do that? And I'm like,
got that movie pass on.
Well, there's that. And then there's like, sometimes I get surprised. So, you know, I went and I get there and I am at the IMAX and I showed up like 40 minutes before the movie started, I think. And I was like the last person at the back of this humongous fucking line. And right from there, I knew this is not going to be a normal weekend. The 10 o'clock showing that I was at for a 2-hour plus movie was sold out. That's not normal on a Thursday night. Like, there was all sorts of people there. The place was packed. I ended up having to take a seat like all the way over to the side. I mean, it was the IMAX theater, so most of the seats were pretty decent. There's a smaller capacity, but a lot of the other 2D and 3D showings were selling out too. And I was like, all right, this is kind of crazy. And I got to say that then I was worried because I was like, man, there's all these people here. They're going to ruin this movie for me. Everybody fucking was quiet during the movie. And they were all like reacting in the right spots. And I got to say that it was one of the best theatrical experiences that I've had in years. And that's not to say from a quality standpoint of the movie. But I'm just saying, as far as like the audience that I was with, was one of the best.
Then I had a very similar experience where people just really like, because there's always that dread, right? And this happens a lot, maybe with us specifically, because we go to a lot of genre movies and we see a lot of horror movies, and people who tend to go to horror movies are very poorly behaved. And so when you go into something like Jurassic World, where
Because
you're
they don't
like,
take it seriously.
yeah, and you go, or they're just trying to prove that they're friends and they're not scared or whatever. Then you go to something like Jurassic World, where you're like, well, there's going to be a lot of crossover and blah blah blah, and there's going to be a huge like demographic that's going to be a lot of younger kids and a lot of younger people, so you're just kind of nervous. But when I went to it, like, people were mad quiet and they were laughing and they were having a good time, and they were like the overall crowd reaction was really really good, and I was very happy with that, because I have zero tolerance for like noisy theaters. They just drive me nuts. And so, I'm always worried when I sit down and then I see like a group of kids come in and they're talking, through the trailers. But then, like, as soon as the trailer stopped, like, fucking everybody shut up and they just watch the movie.
And that's how it was for me. Like, right before the movie, this fucking dude in a Jurassic Park shirt was standing up and like yelling at people like how he was like the #1 Jurassic Park fan.
Oh God.
And he had a shirt on and he was like, I could tell you anything about Jurassic Park. He's like, it came out in theaters in 1998. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, this guy is just like out of his fucking mind. And he was like making all these fucking jokes like he thought he was funny, and everybody was kind of like, shut the fuck up, kid. And I was like, great, this is gonna be a fucking obnoxious night.
Was he telling everybody to hold on to their butts?
Pretty much. Hold on to your butts. But it ended up being really fucking good crowd, and I watched the movie. I saw it in 3D, and I mean, I'll talk about that maybe a little bit, but I gotta say that the 3D was actually really good in this movie.
Yeah, I was wondering how the 3D was.
I've seen the movie twice. I saw it in 3D IMAX, and then I saw it in regular 2D, and it plays just fine in 2D. But I gotta say that, quite frankly, if you're gonna see the movie, I highly recommend seeing it in 3D. I actually would say go see the 3D before the 2D, especially if you have an IMAX screen that's playing it, because if anything deserves to be seen on a big fucking screen with loud sound, it's this movie, because this is probably one of the best. I mean, this isn't like Chris Nolan IMAX. You know what I mean? Where it's like fucking real true IMAX for some of the parts. But it's what's that?
Where he's running on 60 or 75 or 70 millimeter.
Yeah,
shot
exactly.
in the correct aspect ratio.
Yeah, exactly. But it was really fucking good, and the movie was kind of like this ridiculous B movie that was kind of mean at times, but at the same time, it worked really well, and it was fun, and there was a lot of parts that were funny. There's a lot of nods to the original movies that I thought were, kind of cheesy in some ways, but they were kind of fun.
Yeah, they're highly manipulative and whatever. For me, it's when I don't want to say anything specific to make you feel like a child again.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those things where it's goofy and shit, but for me it worked out really well. And I just thought, like, at the end of the day, like, I left the movie theater and I was like, a lot of people are going to talk shit about this movie. A lot of people are going to hate it, but I fucking liked it quite a bit. Is it perfect? No. Is it like great? No. But is it, as far as like summer blockbuster popcorn, quote unquote, check your brain at the door movies go, is it fun? Yes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would agree with that completely. I mean, you're getting a good version of what those movies are going to be.
And I think it gave me everything that, well, it gave me more than what I expected. And, quite frankly, like, I liked it. I had fun with it, and I thought it was good, and I would recommend it to people. So that was kind of a nice surprise, and like I said, I was also really surprised that the 3D was so good, because most of the time it's garbage. Like you go see it, and there's like a few spots where something will fucking jump out at you, and that's about it. You know what I mean? So
they'll
So yeah, like it's one of those things where like I said, I think it works, and I think in this case the 3D is good on the level of it's not just shit flying at you. I think there's a lot of good depth of field and other stuff, and just watching this movie on the biggest screen possible is the way to go. And it was good enough that I was like, all right, like I could definitely take my kid to see this movie, and it's not going to be any problem. And, like I'll take him, see if he likes it. And I took him again over the weekend, and I was like, all right, well, this is definitely a fun time. And I had a lot of fun watching it with my kid, and basically he loved it. He is completely enamored with it and loves dinosaurs, and is now like super stoked on everything that's Jurassic Park and dinosaur related. And I'm not going to complain about that. And I think a lot of the people who've been complaining about this fucking movie are just forgetting about the fact that this movie's audience is not film geeks and like crazy like horror fans. It's the mass audience. It's kids. They were banking on the fact of, well, all these people who have nostalgia for the first movie want to go back and watch this, and they want to take their kids because they want to show their kids what it's like to go to see a movie with dinosaurs. You know what I mean? And I think that it's also one of those things where you get just the fact that the movie is aware of what it is enough that it knows that it's coming 20 years after this other movie, and people aren't going to take it seriously. That it plays with some of those jokes, and it plays with like corporate sponsorship shit that they have to do, makes fun of it, pokes fun of it, kind of references the stuff that happened in the other movies, and makes jokes about it, and doesn't take itself too seriously. And quite frankly, I think it works. And do I think it's amazing? No, I don't think it's amazing. I don't think it's like fucking Oscar material or best movie of all time or anything like that. But is it something that I feel comfortable with throwing my money at? Is it something I would watch again? Yes, I would go and see this movie a third time, and I probably will. So that's my opinion of it. I'm sorry if anyone's listening out there if we're having some technical shit going on. I think it's breaking up a little bit, and that's just apparently because everybody's watching porn probably at this time of night.
Probably. It's the witching hour.
Yeah, it's fucking like as soon as midnight hit, it was just like everybody just goes into jack off mode.
As you do.
Yeah, well, it's everybody goes into jack off mode, and it's like, yo, you're supposed to be sitting here like just fucking cum all over your keyboard.
Yeah, all over your just face, and just dripping down your leg. And
it's only me and Jesse that are sitting here talking about dinosaurs. So I mean, it sounds like we both think people should watch it. So there's been a lot of people out there that have been slamming the movie, and I guess this is kind of the other part of the conversation that we have to have before we can really kind of call it a night on the discussion. But so I don't even know where to start with this, but I guess probably the largest criticism that I keep hearing is people referring to it as high heel gate because of Bryce Dallas Howard's character is running around in high heels for the entire movie. And they even make a reference in the movie, Chris Pratt does, to the fact that she's running around with these stupid shoes on.
Right.
And what are people people are angry because they put her in high heels? Is that what people are angry about?
I think that they are angry more that they wrote her as sort of this antiquated one-dimensional character. But I don't. So a lot of people have labeled the movie sexist, and they've written whole think pieces on her character alone and how it's like the worst thing that's ever happened to movies. And while I don't think her character is necessarily good and not very progressive in sort of any way, I don't think that you can label the movie as just sexist. I think that the problem is bigger. I think that most of the characters in the movie are one-dimensional and very like put in a box. Like Chris Pratt's character is that sort of rogue, rakish character. You have Vincent D'Onofrio, who plays like the Hugh Jackman in Chappie, where he's the evil corporate.
Oh god! Except Hugh Jackman and Chappie is so much better.
But like it's the same guy, right? Like we need to weaponize this thing, or we need to, like that's like the only really interesting character in the whole thing is the guy, I can forget his name, but he's the guy at the computer who has all the little dinosaurs and he's wearing the Jurassic
James
t-shirt.
Johnson.
Yeah, like he's the only character in that movie that actually has some sort of like resonating uniqueness.
Oh, dude, that fucking kiss part.
Yeah, like
that got laughs both times I saw it. Like people were just dying.
But his character is probably the most, like he's the most of an individual. I think that everybody else is put in these really like stereotypical archetypes, and that doesn't mean that the movie is like horribly sexist. I think it just means that it's just horribly sort of written in the fact that nobody has anything of value other than these things that we've seen before. And it's just it's a bigger issue that nobody seems to be addressing. It's just the one little thing, and it's just a bigger problem on a bigger scale.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and I mean I agree, and from what I understand, the high heels were actually supposedly her idea. Her being Bryce Dallas Howard, basically saying she wanted to have her character do that because she thought it would be badass and like feminine, to be like feminine but still being a badass, which is just goofy because you're not going to outrun a T-Rex in high heels.
Right.
If anything, they should have done some romancing the stone shit where like they make a comment about those fucking heels are ridiculous, and then she breaks the heels off and runs in the normal shoe that's left.
Right.
But at the same time, like, what do people want? Do they want her to be like, yo, I'm gonna be like super like jacked up like fucking woman who's gonna get into battle mode and put on these fucking combat boots and shit? Like, how is that any better? You know what I mean? And again, this is a popcorn movie, right? This is a summer blockbuster, and this is where I kind of think, like I was saying earlier, I think Mad Max ruined movies for us recently.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
Able to like take female characters and make them badass and have fucking characters without having exposition.
Mhm.
Whereas this movie definitely is guilty of a lot of the things that Mad Max was able to avoid.
Right.
Just
And
because Mad Max did it correctly or did it awesomely doesn't mean that other movies are shit.
Right.
And that's the problem that I have. Just because you have a movie that was really fucking good and was able to do this doesn't mean, you know what I mean? It's two separate audiences. One of them is an R-rated fucking crazy like action movie, you know, to a franchise that's been dormant for a long time. And this is a, you know, like a 4-quadrant go after everybody movie.
Right.
That's been in, and again, like I said, I think it also comes down to Mad Max. So, okay, yeah, they were working on that for like the last 15 years, and they were working on this for 15 years. But Mad Max was always George Miller. There was never anybody else that was going to do that movie.
Mm-hmm.
This had a whole bunch of fucking people that were supposed to do it, and probably a whole bunch of drafts. There's like 5 people, I think, 4 or 5 people that have screenwriting credits on here.
Yeah, it went through the Hollywood machine where they have to have the screenplay fit a certain school of thought that
Mm-hmm.
helps them make money and is digestible for a mass audience, and that's what they do. And is it right? Not really. Is it the best way? Not really. But it's just what that becomes of it. And I think slowly but surely the sort of the machine is evolving to a different beast. But I don't think that it requires like this sentimentality that or the sentiment that if you like this movie now that you are somehow part of the problem, which has become like I said, the new film criticism is that if you like this one type of movie, you're part of the problem. And I don't agree with that at all. There's that whole there's a whole death scene in Jurassic World where it's like really, really long, right? But it's kind of funny and we all like it. But there was I think Badass Digest and some other people did a thing on it where they're like, this doesn't fit in anything in the movie and blah blah blah, and it's
apparently Birth Movies Death is what he writes for now.
Mm-hmm.
Which is so it's
Devin Faraci or BMD.
Yep, this is our friend Devin Faraci complaining, and I was actually going to touch on that because I think that there's some validity to some of the things he says, but I think that mostly overall he also is kind of contradictory.
Mm-hmm. And the problem with the thing he's saying, and this was brought up by, I'm not going to take credit for this, but John Squires brought this up. It's like, he said like the death is unnecessary and unproportional and mean and has like that person had no right in dying in that way. But then you watch something like Jaws and like the opening scene, this poor girl is like tossed around for like a minute, and that's sort of the same thing. A kid dies in Jaws. Like, did he deserve that? There's all of these movies that we seem to forget about, and was it kind of a strange death? Yeah, it was kind of strange, but it was also, kind of crazy and sort of in that moment.
Yeah, and that kid didn't do shit. And in the original way, I don't know if you've seen some of the pictures that exist out there, but in the original way that Jaws was supposed to be put together, like that death was fairly graphic. Like there's this one fucking picture that's out on the internet of the shark coming up and eating Alex Kintner.
Mm-hmm.
And I posted it on Instagram like a couple months ago. But if you look it up, like Lost Jaws Kintner or something like that, like it's pretty fucking terrifying. It's like a dummy on a raft with the mechanical shark coming out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
And it just looks fairly realistic. It's in black and white and it's kind of terrifying. And it's like way more fucking terrifying and kind of like, oh my fucking god, than anything that happens in this movie.
Sure.
And I agree that there's definitely a disproportionate thing that's going on here. And I definitely agree that this movie has a mean streak in it in some ways, but I don't necessarily think it's a problem because the thing that I hear is that, okay, like characters are supposed to be bad and have done bad things to die, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, not necessarily. Like people who are main characters should be able to die just to show that this is nature. Right. And it doesn't fucking matter who you are. You could get scooped up and treated like that. And that death sequence is one of the fucking most technically impressive things that happens in the movie because it's ridiculous.
Because it's just one thing after another and you're sort of following it all along.
And that's kind of what would probably happen, right? Because it's how it is when you see shit like in nature, right? Like fucking one thing grabs it and then the other thing's trying to take it and then this thing and then they go underwater and then she's like, you know what I mean? Like it's ridiculous and it's obviously there partially for a laugh in what way or in one way or another and possibly to shock people. But at the same time, like how is it so bad that this is supposedly a character that we've been with? Because the thing is I've seen this movie twice and that chick has like 2 lines and the whole time that she's in the movie she's just on her fucking phone and not paying attention to the kids. And I get it, it's probably because she didn't want to watch them. She's more concerned with the fact that she's getting married than she is with these fucking kids. And then the only time that she's really concerned is because of the fact that she lost the kids and probably doesn't want to lose her job.
Right.
And I'm not totally convinced that she actually cares about the fact that she can't find the kids and is worried about them. I think she's more worried about herself, which again, understandable. I'm not faulting the movie for that. But I just don't understand how it's any better when it's just some random fucking person, which is what that piece that Devin Faraci has written says, that basically if this was just some background person or some random character, then it would be okay. But because this is a quote unquote character that we know or that has some significance, it's wrong. And I don't think that that's correct, because I don't treat this person as anything more than a character who existed just to be killed off.
Right.
But maybe that's because I'm used to watching like slasher movies and fucking horror movies where there isn't any of this shit where it's like, okay, you're a background character, so you have to die. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm just used to people just die, and that's what happens in these movies. You know, there's a lot of other people that get picked off by those fucking pterodons too during that whole scene. And, you know, they don't follow them like that, but I guess they probably thought that, well, if we're going to focus on this, we need to have a character that somebody is aware of. Because if they were just to all of a sudden focus in on some character that we have never seen, it would almost seem weird.
Mm-hmm.
As to like, okay, so why are we making this a big spectacle? And I get that some people are also like, oh my God, and another thing that's terrible is these kids are sitting there watching the whole thing. And I'm like, yeah, but that's what would happen.
Right.
You know, I mean, what would they rather have? So they complain about that, or they can complain about like the fucking type of shit that happens in like San Andreas, right? Like,
which is just as egregious in that manner, right? Like, it just has those types of problems where all these people are dying, but yet as long as the family makes it out okay, everything's okay.
Right. And that's what I was saying is like, so that fucking sketchy dude in San Andreas who gets fucking like pummeled. There's people who die in San Andreas that you know or whatever, or who are just as guilty of just being like wrapped up in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay in that sense, and this is not okay. Like, I'm not saying one or the other. I'm just saying that it's ridiculous the way that some people are treating this as if it's, I guess, more important than it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a character, and she was always just there to serve a purpose, to not watch the kids.
Right.
So do I give a fuck if it's her or if it's the guy who like grabs his margaritas before he runs away? I don't know if you caught that.
Yeah, that was pretty great.
Like, some people catch it and some people don't. It's funny. I know a lot of people have caught it, and it's just hilarious because everybody else is running and this dude like grabs his margaritas before he runs.
My spirit animal.
And seeing that shit on the IMAX, it was painfully obvious what he was doing in 3D because he was like right in the foreground. So you could really see it happen, and people started laughing. But I've talked to other people and they're like, wait, what are you talking about? And I'm like, when you watch it again, just watch, because it's like a split second thing, but it's fucking hilarious. And Justin asked a question, is basically asking me if I had to pay extra to see the 3D IMAX movie with the movie pass. The movie pass doesn't cover 3D or IMAX, so I had to pay for this out of my pocket. And I was fine with that because I wanted to see it in 3D and IMAX. So, and Dylan also says that the final battle scene in the movie made him want to see it again alone. And we'll get to that in a minute. But
Dino MMA.
Yes, because that is definitely fucking... That's the way you end a movie.
Right.
But I think it's ridiculous that people are complaining about, that one death scene. And I guess I can see some points in there, and that's where I said, like, I think Devin is an intelligent guy, but I think he's also a grumpy fuck. And quite frankly, like, I think he's making a bigger deal out of it than it is. And I think a lot of people are, as far as that particular scene goes. Did the character deserve it? No. But is it necessarily disproportionate? Maybe a little bit. But is that a problem that makes this movie problematic and terrible? No. I don't think so. I think what would make this movie terrible is if it was boring. And this movie's not boring.
No.
It's 2 hours long and it goes by pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, that's all I give a shit about, right? Like all I care about is being entertained. And the worst thing that a movie can do is bore me. If a movie bores me, then it's not good. I don't care what it has to say or how much it adheres to whatever particular rules there are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and there's a lot of people that are criticizing that ending of this movie too, that are complaining and just being like, oh, well, it's fucking stupid that you get to the end of the movie and there's just like dinosaurs fighting and that's how it ends.
It's always how it's always ended.
And that's what I was saying is like, and they're like, oh, well, it's just trying to be like that. And why would the fucking raptors like fight and they're like talking? And I'm like, this is the fucking part 4 of a franchise. Right? Like
yeah.
People who went into this movie expecting it to be Jurassic Park are fucking morons. I'm sorry. Like if you expected Jurassic World to be as good as Jurassic Park, then you're a fucking moron. Because at the end of the day, Jurassic Park was so awe-inspiring when it came out because it was really the first time we had ever seen shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
And especially seeing it in a movie theater as like a 13-year-old kid on, you know, pre-screening night or whatever the hell it was, special advanced preview night. I was just like floored because I was just like, oh my God, that shit looks fucking utterly real. And the CGI and stuff like that in the first Jurassic Park holds up. And then you'll get those people out there that are complaining because this one doesn't have enough practical effects.
Mm-hmm.
But I hate to say it, but the CG looks just fine in this movie. It looks good. I couldn't find any problems with it.
Oh, it looks really good.
There's some practical effects in there. You know, I mean, if anything, the Indominus Rex, the main bad guy, doesn't really look too much different than a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you really look at it, once you know like where he came from, you can see what they did with it, but it's not necessarily anything amazing. But that fucking fight scene at the end is pretty awesome. And it really was just like dinosaur MMA. And I was like, that is what needed to be. Like, that is what the Lost World wanted to do, but was not able to pull off. And at the end of that fight scene, the way that it completely like goes to a close is when like everybody in my theater like started just cheering and applauding and gave it like a standing ovation. And I think that the fucking fight scene in that is better than anything that was in Godzilla last year.
Yeah, no, everything that happened in that MMA fight is exactly what was all better of Godzilla.
Mm-hmm. And I like Godzilla. So, you know, that's how it is. So it's, I don't know. It's, again, kind of silly. And I think that people are taking the movie to be either too serious or something that it's not. And I think at the end of the day, if you're going to sit around writing think pieces about this, then don't you have anything better to do with your time? Like, you know, I mean, we can complain and people can be like, oh, blah, blah, one-dimensional characters, this and that and the other. But is that really anything different? And then the answer that they give is, well, that's the point, is it should be different. And I'm like, so wait, so you're telling me that because all these other movies do this, that inherently this movie should not be that way? Well, no, but yeah, but what? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, but what? So what is this movie supposed to be? And the answer is really this movie's supposed to be whatever it is. Maybe it's not for you. Maybe you don't like it. But if Jurassic World is one of the worst movies you've ever seen, then you have not fucking seen
a lot of
that many movies. Yeah. Because I've seen worse movies than this week. Like several of them. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. I see horrible shit all the time. What that says about me might be a completely different thing, but you know, it just irks me because I see people do that, and especially the people who make the snide remarks. And that's fine if you want to just troll people to make fun of it.
Mm-hmm.
But like there are several pieces out there that are thought out, written, completely not trolling, other than the fact that maybe they only exist because they're trying to get people to click on it. Because let's face it, nobody gave a fuck about this movie necessarily before it came out.
Right.
And then it opened this, like, as far as like websites go and shit. But then as soon as it opens and makes that much money, every motherfucker is posting like dozens of stories about it.
Mm-hmm. Get that traffic, son.
And that's what I'm saying, and that's fine. And I can't begrudge them for that because that's what they're in business for, is to get people to click on it. But I'm just saying that just because you wrote something doesn't mean that it's important or correct.
Or good.
So, yeah, exactly. Especially if your name is Devin Faraci. Because fuck you.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah, I just don't like that guy in general, so most of the time. But I am willing to admit, like I said, that I think he's underneath that bitter fucking shell of a human being. I think he's got some intelligence. And
No,
he's got a few valid points.
He does, and every once in a while he'll say something. I'm like, oh yeah, it's, like, and he's not a stupid person. He is very much educated in what he does. It's just that you can tell that there's sometimes a different motive. Like, one of the bigger things that happened was that one, they have like Star Wars Day, and he took time out of his entire day to write a whole post about how Star Wars is like terrible on Star Wars Day. And it's like, you're just being the contrarian to be the contrarian. Like, you could write this any other day, but you're doing this specifically so you could get traffic, specifically so you get people mad at you, specifically so you could get it shared because
So
people are going to be mad at you.
people on Twitter.
Yeah, so you can just block people on Twitter like you like to do. Like,
That's not even being a contrarian. That's just being an asshole.
Yeah, I guess so. But it gets to a point where it's just absolutely ridiculous.
Armin White is like a contrarian / troll.
Yeah, but there's something almost not harmless about Armin White. It's just that he is less.
Well, he's never seething.
No, he's
never
seething.
like, this is the fucking, except for if it's Steve McQueen, apparently.
Right.
And then he's just angry.
You Uncle Tom.
Because for whatever reason, he hates black people. Yeah. But Devin Faraci gets like angry and personal, especially with the Kevin Smith shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was the worst, where he's just like, Kevin Smith needs to fucking die, basically. And it's just like, holy fuck. Like, it wasn't even Kevin Smith so much as it was like, he kind of complimented the movie, and then he's like, and then Johnny Depp shows up, and Johnny Depp is the biggest waste of human life ever. And it's like, holy fuck. He's just like attacking Johnny Depp. And that's all it is him basically being like, Johnny Depp is a horrible human being who deserves to die. And that's why this movie is terrible. And he's, from what I've seen, it's kind of the same thing he's doing here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, people can hate on Chris Pratt with his weird mustache that you only kind of realize is a mustache after you stare at it intensely for like a couple minutes.
Right. It's a ghost of a mustache.
Yeah, well, it's weird because he's got the stubble, and so it almost looks like he's got a beard, but then you realize that he actually has a mustache, and it's only viewable from certain angles. So it's a weird thing. But people can hate on that all they want, but at the end of the day, like, Chris Pratt is kind of fun.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's his fault. I think he just had kind of a stupid character, and I think he did the best with what he had. I like Bryce Dallas Howard. I think she's pretty good in the movie. I mean, again, anything that's wrong with the stuff she's doing is part of the script problem, and it's there. Like I said, this was like the culmination of like several rewrites of an original idea somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't fault it, and everybody else is all right. So whatever. Even those kids weren't too bad, although it was really awkward watching the older brother just completely like eye fucking girls.
Yeah, with his little brother.
Yeah, and ignoring his little brother. And I get what they were doing. Like, they were trying to set it up to be like, oh, well, he's kind of growing apart from his younger brother, and
Sexuality is entered into that relationship.
exactly. But it's like we don't need that, and like the shit with the parents getting a divorce, we don't need that. It never pays off, ever. You see the parents at the beginning, and then you see them at the end, and that's it. They didn't need that. But, does that make it a terrible movie? No, it just makes it an imperfect movie. And is there any such thing as a perfect movie? Not really. So,
Lawrence of Arabia.
Well, there you go. Lawrence of the Labia. Lawrence of the Labia. So I guess that's it. I mean, that's the end of my rant, unless there's anything else you want to talk about. But I think...
nah, bruh.
I think the bottom line is I think it sounds like we both say that you should check this out. Probably in theaters. Yeah.
I think it's the only way to see this movie, really. I mean, you could watch it at home, but I really think that if you want to see it, you have to see it in theaters.
I think so for certain. And like I said, I'll reiterate it again, but I feel like this is one, if you go to see it in 3D IMAX, you're not going to be disappointed. And even if you just see it in regular 3D, like on a regular, screen or whatever, I think it's worth checking the 3D out. And I'm not usually like a proponent of 3D. I don't hate it, but it's very rare that I ever tell people.
Or you're a proponent for it when rarely we're ever proponents for 3D films.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. And it's not that I hate 3D, because honestly, I think 3D looks better on televisions than it does in movie theaters.
Well, yeah, because you get the high frame, and you have the higher frame rate and everything. Yeah.
And so, like, I think that makes sense. But like in this case, I had no problems with any of it. I was able to see everything clearly. The action was easy to follow. And I mean, for me, the biggest thing that I don't like about 3D is just the fact that I have to wear glasses over my glasses.
Same.
And I hate that shit. Like if I didn't wear glasses, or if I had contacts or whatever, I would probably watch more 3D movies, or at least try to watch them. But, like I said, as far as 3D goes, this is pretty good. And I think people should check it out. And especially just for that big fucking screen and sound, because there's nothing like giant dinosaurs making all sorts of noise and shit exploding. I mean, the dinosaurs even have one of those shit blowing up and running and walking away from it moments.
Yep, totally.
Which is another fucking thing that was ridiculous, was the fucking dude with the helicopter.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much shit about this movie that's dumb, but it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So that's it. That's our show for tonight. We're done. And Dylan says, "Hey yo, Tusk is forever." And I guess it's one way to look at it. I don't think it's a bad movie.
It is for. I mean, it will exist probably for forever in some capacity.
Well, probably in 20 years, people will be writing about how awesome it is, because it's just so fucking bizarre.
I will not be one of those people, Jeff.
I know. We had that discussion, though.
We did have that discussion.
We had that discussion.
It was a good discussion.
And Tusk, man. Tusk. But yeah, so we'll be back next week, and we will probably be watching Vendetta. And again, I say that because if Chad doesn't show, there's no fucking... Like, I will just talk to Jesse about Tom Nook being a rapist for 2 hours rather than...
Tom Nook is a rapist. He is holding my security above my head.
So
he's making me talk to all the townspeople to get to know him. Now he's making me mail shit. He's out of control.
So Chad better show up next week, or else I'm really banishing him to the Chuck Connors podcast. Especially if I pay $7 to rent Vendetta.
It is $7?
Yeah, I think it's like $6 or $7.
Oh man,
because it doesn't look good.
It doesn't.
It looks pretty shitty, but I'll watch it. I mean, I was curious anyway, so whatever. But if he doesn't show, then we're definitely going to review something else. And then I think we're going to be off for the 4th of July weekend, because there's just too much going on. And Jesse's got all sorts of fucking
it's gonna be
shit that he's
crazy.
gotta do. He's got
Yo,
all sorts of bitches and
Nathan Lane was in this week. It was tight.
yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ask him about that mousetrap though?
I asked him about, yo, man, what about that bird cage? And
You should have asked him about that mousetrap, son.
I know.
Fuck your
Got him.
bird cage.
Got him. And today Lori Metcalf came in.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah.
She still got short hair.
No, not really.
Not as
Good
fun.
time though. I didn't recognize her until after I rang her up, and she was just about to walk away. I was like, "Oh my god!" Yeah, but
yeah, so we'll probably be taking that weekend off, and then we'll be back the following week, which is, I guess, whatever the second weekend in July, and then we're going to be reviewing Terminator Genesis.
Genesis.
Yeah, Genesis, which is a movie that I don't plan to watch in 3D.
I will. I mean, I will watch it, but I am not looking forward to that movie.
I'm not looking forward to it either. And then people are like, "Well, why do you watch it if you're not looking forward?" It's like, well, because we need to talk about something.
Because we're stuck in this horrible cycle of watching all these movies over and over again.
And well, it's like I'd rather talk about a movie that's in the movie theater than just always be like, because otherwise we're just going to end up being extra cast and just reviewing like pornography.
Sure, we could do that.
Which, it's all right, but that's kind of their thing, right? It's not ours.
I know.
So our thing is let's just watch whatever fucking movie is in the movie theaters, however stupid it sounds. Like when Ouija 2 comes out, we will be there.
We will be there.
That's how it works. And then we will come on the show and be like, that fucking movie was a piece of dog shit. And Dylan says that actually the first time they ever listened to us was our Tusk review, and he says it holds a special place in his heart. So there you go. Tusk has some merit.
I don't even know how
What?
people find us. I don't even know how. I don't know how that works.
Find us, man. Some people find us on the internet. Like, it's weird because, and it's been happening more lately, and I love it. So whatever. I'll give you my Twitter handle in a minute, but like, it's weird because lately I've been getting like tweets and messages from other people that listen that I don't even know who the fuck they are. But then after somebody like tweets me a couple times, or like I notice that they're like favoriting some of my tweets like on a regular basis, I'm like, oh, hey, they must listen to the show. And
right.
We'll be like, oh yeah, I listen to your show. I like it. And I'm like, oh, that's thank you. I don't know how people find us. I guess they go into the deepest, darkest bowels of the internet.
It's a dark place.
To places made of just self-loathing and anger masturbation. That's where we will be. So, so thank you everybody for listening, and go see Jurassic World. And if you already saw it, go see it again. So, okay. Apparently, Dylan found us through James last year. So
there you go.
There you go. R.I.P. James Harris.
R.I.P. James Harris.
Who I don't even know you, man. I don't know where he is. He's got a baby, and maybe he'll be back. I really don't know at this point.
Yeah.
Jesse's my only constant, and if Jesse leaves, I'm just gonna kill myself.
It's all for naught.
Pretty much, if Jesse leaves, there's no podcast anymore. It'll just be me. Nobody wants to hear that.
Talking
Really.
into the barrel of a gun.
Pretty much, or just talking into the barrel of a bottle. So, so with that being said, come back, check it out, and thanks for listening. Check us out, deadairpodcast.net. Find us on Facebook. Leave us a review on iTunes and all that good stuff. So, Jesse, you want to tell people where they can find more of your ramblings on the interwebs?
Twitter, Instagram, Medium, under the handle @DestroySuperman. And you can find me on Facebook too if you do, and just let me know if you dare to be bombarded with pictures of Cage and
it's all pretty much pictures of Oregon, Gabby, and Nick Cage.
Yeah.
And occasionally dogs.
Yeah. A lot of dogs if they come into my job.
Coon cats
Maine Coon cats.
and books.
Lots of books. Always books. That's it.
All right, sweet. I am on Twitter and Instagram at DeadAirJeff. You can follow me on both of those places. I am also on Facebook, which if you want to find me on there, that's cool. But I don't know, like I said earlier, if I'm going to continue to post as much on there or if I'm just going to kind of go and only do the Facebook page for the podcast for a while, just because people make me ill and I don't like listening to some of the things that people that I went to high school have to say. And I just don't have the, I guess that's the patience, but I also just don't have the willpower to go through my list and purge it, because it almost seems like too much work for what it's worth.
Right.
It almost seems easier to just burn the whole motherfucker down.
That's right. Pour gasoline into that shit. Just light it on fire.
Just gonna pull a Jurassic World and shit.
Yeah.
Just unleash the T-Rex.
The flares.
But yeah, Twitter is definitely a good place, you know. Check us out. You can find the page on Facebook for the podcast, and that's a pretty good way. But you know, if you want to friend me on Facebook, that's cool. But the only thing I would say is send me like a message and be like, hey, I'll listen to the podcast, because if I just get I get friend requests all the time, and if I don't know who the person is and I don't know that how they are related to me, I guess probably not related, but how they are connected to me, I just ignore it a lot of the times, because I don't know if you're just some crazy ass Russian guy who wants to try to steal my credit card or so that you can buy Farmville stuff, if that's even a thing anymore. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Fuck it. So yeah, that's about it. Everything. Find me in all those places, and yeah, good stuff. So thanks again, and come back, talk to us, hang out. And there'll be more stuff up in the feed pretty soon, because I'm going to edit some stuff together, and it will more than likely be coming into the feed out of order, because I'll probably put the Insidious 3 episode up before I get around to doing the other 2 that are missing, just because I want to get kind of caught up, and I got to go through that Mad Max one and piece it together. That's going to be a fucking nightmare. So anyway, you don't need to hear about that, but have fun, be nice. White people suck, and don't fucking die. Good night, everybody.
Night. Let's get the fuck home.
I'm gonna say you. I hate
this for you, Dylan.
Nigga tripping over here. Shit.
Peace.
Oh, shit.
Just keep walking, don't turn around.
Hey, boy. Here we go again. Hey, nigga, why you fucking with me?
Fuck you, nigga, cause I can. Into the mind of a maniac, doomed to be a killer since I came out the nutsack. I'm in a murderous mind state with a heart full of terror. I see the devil in the mirror. Fuck, lights out. Cause when I grab my sword off, niggas get hauled off. Barrel 1, touch your motherfucking flesh. Barrel 2, touch your fucking heart at your chest. You see a quick to let the hammer go click. On my tech 9, so if you try to wreck mine, food at your bedtime. Feel the blast from the chocolate bomber. Infrared and let your head like your name was Sarah Connor. Decapitation, I ain't hesitating to put you in a funeral home with a bullet in your dome. I'm hot like lava. You got a problem? I got a problem solver, and his name is Revolver. Like a deadly game of freeze tag. I touch you with a phony for mag, and you're frozen inside a body bag. Nobody iller than this graveyard filler, cap killer. killer, cause I'm a natural born killer. Terror illustrates my error. Now I can't hang around my mama cause I scare her. I want the blast, motherfucker. Yeah, what's up? It feels like I'm busting a nut when I open you up, cause your body is exposed to the midnight mist. All weak motherfuckers give my wing a kiss, cause I'm giving dirt naps. Coming with them dumb ass raps to make your lungs collapse. Perhaps you never sleep, cause every time you doze, you catch blows to the motherfucking nose. Ain't seen the sun in 66 days. Let me count the ways in a fucked up maze. I never ever made a whole steak, but I'm down with Drake like AC is down with OJ. So fuck how you living. I'm the unforgiving, psycho-driven murderer. Organic, don't panic, I can't stand it. God damn it, schizophrenic. So fuck Charlie Manson. I snatch him out his truck, hit him with a brick, and I'm dancing.
Mass murderer, natural born killer. And I don't wanna die. I don't wanna die. I don't wanna die.
Logic in my dreams, but I understand I like the sounds of sirens. Terrified screams from the screams of strychnine. Dumping on any motherfucker trying to trick mine. Cause punk motherfuckers wanna violate. Now they stiff and cold and their pupils won't dilate. It's so much pain in my brain. Headache, I can hear his bones break. He steps in a single door, got his ass whipped with 20 lashes like he do with a Singapore. So I'ma pull a fucking Jeffrey Dahmer. Now he's suicidal. Tick tock, tick tock, tick. Dre and Ice Cube on some murdering shit. Keeping niggas in order, making their life shorter. Ready to slaughter, cause to me a life ain't worth a quarter on dime. Mushrooms got my mind hallucinating. Ain't no debating, I'm creating an escape opportunity out without a doubt. Scot free, so don't even think about trying to stop me. Cause I can't wait, I'm out the gate on the perimeter. A thriller from a natural born killer. They call me Dada. 6 million ways to murder. Choose one, lose one soul. Body turns cold. Natural fight from niggas going broke in the night. Should I kill him? Yeah. Should I kill her? Am I iller? Yeah. Then a natural born killer. Should I kill him? Yeah. Should I kill her? Am I iller? Yeah. Then a natural born killer. Should I kill him? Yeah. Should I kill her? Am I iller? Yeah. Then a natural born killer. Should I kill him? Yeah. Should I kill her? Am I iller? Yeah. Then a natural born killer.
See, I believe in money, power, respect. First you get the money, then you get the motherfucking power. After you get the fucking power, motherfuckers will respect you. 1 pound respect, you eating life. 1 pound respect, you eating right. 1 pound respect, you sleep at night. You'll see the light, key to life. 1 pound respect, you eating life. 1 pound respect, you eating right. 1 pound respect, 1 pound respect, 1 pound respect.
Yo, my whole clique bout it. We take yours while you pout about it. Truck, step out the horse, wanna crowd around it. You can see me on Optimum TV. Go in your bathroom, turn the light out, scream, Bloody Mary. 1, 2, 3. Chic ain't your usual friend, but I can set you up like Heisen and walk straight at the end. I'm done with ice and charms. I'm trying to ice my whole casket when I'm gone. Pull up with class on the dawn. Once I meet him, I greet him. Kiss his feet for freedom. Tell him thank you, Lord. Cause on earth I was getting bored. Now resurrect me back to this cat or shit. So I can make this album and get back the cats that's weak. 230, 6'2". Me punch for you, that's like a cat versus a pit bull. Gun, no flip bull. Keep hunger and plan for the future. Cause you figure you gon' be older way longer than you gon' be younger.
Keep it live. 1 pound respect, you eating life. 1 pound respect, you eating right. 1 pound respect, you sleep at night. You'll see the light, key to life. 1 pound respect, you eating life. 1 pound respect, you eating right. 1 pound respect, 1 pound respect, 1 pound respect, key to life.
Only time to tell how the clock tick. I really love head, but I'm still a hostage. 2 personalities, check the posture. Smoke out the mouth, flare out the nostrils. Thinking death, the life seems scary. I pass the graveyard, seeing people here married. I ain't chillin'. till I'm out parachute, race my man in mountain climbing for about 10 diamonds, 25,000 apiece. Fuck streets, trying to own the island. Forget about wildin', try riding in the car that be gliding. If I showed you where I live, you would think I was hiding. Sling dick, the chicks that don't speak English. Wake up in Trinidad, like fucking I'm rich. Come back, private jet, live on set. If you get shit gold, I keep it forget.
1 pound spec, what you eating like? 1 pound spec, what you eating right? 1 pound spec, sleep at night. You'll see the light, keep it alive. 1 pound spec, what you eating like? 1 pound spec, what you eating right?
Yo, nothing but the hotness whenever we drop this. Monotonous for y'all to keep hating, cause y'all never gon' stop us. I keep my rock spotless and my hoes topless. Take time, try to figure out who the lock is. Spare no one, kick rhymes like Shogun. You scared to blow one, get robbed with your own gun. If I don't respect you, I'ma check you. And if I don't kiss you, I'ma peck you. Right before I wet you, I sneeze on tracks and bless you. I'm special, and if you like working out, then I'm gon' stretch you. Hustling is dead, but we still get red. Turn the spots in the bakeries, we give back bread. And y'all said my money spent, but it's in the bit. So when the feds come, the dogs can't get a cent. And my story, self-explanatory, that I'm the hottest thing on the street, and y'all ain't got nothing for me.
Keep it alive.
Yeah.
1 pound spec, what you eating like? 1 pound spec, what you eating right? 1 pound spec, sleep at night. You'll see the light. Keep it alive. 1 pound spec, what you eating like? 1 pound spec, what you eating right? 1 pound spec, 1 pound spec, 1 pound spec.
This is a beat that I can freak. Just drop the rails. Bless a nigga with the ill. Y'all niggas know my skill. X from the grill. Hit 'em up, split 'em up, wet 'em up. Watch 'em come, get 'em up, shut 'em up. When you do dirt, you get dirt. Bitch, I make your shit hurt. Step back like I did work. Take a fucking game. You think I'm playing? Till you land? You ran the junkyard, decaying. Mom's at home praying. You coming home, but you not. You sitting up in the trunk, starting to rap. And the hell is hot, though, because I'm here now, baby. It's going down, baby. Get the 4 pound, baby. And let off up with a nigga. Especially if he think he bigger. With my motherfucking trigger. Can I get mine? Is it gone? DMX represent one time. So
1 pound spec, what you eating like? 1 pound spec, what you eating right? 1 pound spec, sleep at night. You'll see the light. Keep it alive. 1 pound spec, what you eating like? 1 pound spec, what you eating right? 1 pound spec, money pound spec, money pound spec.
Why they always talking about money?